It's a weekend series in Baltimore as the White Sox try and make it two straight at the expense of a new-look Orioles ball club here at Oriole Park in Camden Yards on NBC Sports Chicago. The good old days of the Orioles. We'll have more on that in a few minutes, but joined by Cy Young Award winner right here in Baltimore, Steve Stone. But let's get back to the White Sox, Stephen, because it was quite a ball game the other night for the bullpen in the Sox.
Bullpen has really been struggling this year, but last night an exception. 6 innings, they were absolutely spotless. The Sox don't win the game if not for the bullpen. They gave up 2 hits, they struck out 7 in the 6 innings and handled Kansas City. As you can see, it was a wonderful ball game. Sox won it late in 12 innings, 4-2. They couldn't have done it without the defense. Some very bad base running. With the bases loaded, only 1 out, Sox able to get a double play and out of the inning. So Kansas City is in last place for a reason. We saw a little bit of it, but the bullpen was spectacular.
Now, Steve, we have 2 pitchers tonight, both on ends of the spectrum, a veteran against a rook.
James Shields has made over 400 starts. This rookie, Luis Ortiz, is making his first major league start. It's the 8th time it's happened in Baltimore Oriole history. We're seeing the 8th tonight. James Shields, last time he saw these Orioles, was absolutely brilliant. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits and 2 earned runs against Baltimore. That was back on May 22nd. He had the curveball working. The straight change was very good. He was pinpoint with his fastball, and the Orioles went down man after man after man. The youngster who he's facing tonight has had some bullpen appearances. This is going to be his first start. In Norfolk this year, he was very good. 6 starts, 2-1 ERA of 3.69, and James against the Orioles, 11-8 ERA of 3.85. So he's throwing the ball pretty well right now as far as starts, innings pitched, and batters faced. James is among the best in baseball. Quite obviously, he'd like a few more wins, and maybe tonight he gets one.
Absolutely. Looking forward to working with Steve Stone. We'll have the first pitch in a moment. Mother Nature has cooperated here in Baltimore. We'll have the first pitch in a moment on NBC Sports Chicago.
BC Sports Chicago is brought to you in part by Toyota. Tested, trusted, Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. Through it all. By Lexus, who encourages you to experience amazing. And by Miller Lite, the original light beer. Miller Lite, hold true.
More on NBC Sports Chicago. Always a pleasure. Alongside my main man, Steve Stone, this is Chuck Swirsky, and here's the White Sox lineup brought to you by the Webb Auto Group. For the best lineup of Chevys and Fords, Mitsubishis, Genesis, and Hyundais at the best price, go to webcars.com. Moncada leading off. You got Abreu batting third. Polka, the designated hitter tonight. You got Anderson at short, and Ryan Cordell will patrol center field, batting ninth for the Sox.
Let's take a look at the defense for the Orioles. And now Buck Showalter is going to put them out there tonight with Stewart, Mullins, and Jones left to right in the outfield. Then it's Nunez, Villar, Valera, and Davis in the infield. Austin Wyans has the plate, and our Lexus Experience Amazing starting pitcher is Luis Ortiz. There you look at the totals for this year in the minor leagues. 5-5 is the ERA .370. He was in 22 games, made 17 starts. This is his first major league start. He's had some relief appearances. He's got a pretty decent fastball. His best pitch is a straight change, and we'll see more of that as we move along. The umpires for the game tonight: Dan Bellino has the plate. Adam Hammerys at first base. Nick Marley's at second, and the crew chief, Tom Hallion, is at third. So on a day where we were worried about hurricanes and the rain, it appears that Mother Nature is going to cooperate, at least for the start. It's raining gently, a little mist, not going to affect the baseball game, we don't believe. And here in Baltimore, in front of a very sparse crowd, we're ready for baseball, and I'm ready to, first of all, thank Chuck Swirsky for coming and doing the ball game tonight. Jason Benetti is away on assignment, and Chuck, take it away.
All right, Stephen, thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, from Baltimore. In the first of three, and Moncada takes a cold strike. Moncada set out the other night against Kansas City. It started 21 straight prior to that ball game, as Ortiz making his first major league start. Steve told you that this young man has been highly touted, not only in this organization. They brought him in from Milwaukee in the scope deal, but also originally with the Texas Rangers. That ball slapped to left, and that ball is headed to the wall, bounces off the wall for a ground rule double. So Moncada starts the ball game with a leadoff base hit.
No chance at all for Stewart in left field. This ball slicing away. It hit the track and one hop out of the yard. So a promising way to start the ball game as Yuan goes opposite field, takes that fastball away. It was running and sinking a touch, and he crushes it. A promising way to start against a ball club that's had all kinds of problems this year.
That's going to bring on Yolmer Sanchez. Sanchez batting .248, 7 home runs, and 48 RBIs. I remember coming in here, Steve, as Sanchez fouls went off to the left. We did a broadcast here a couple of years ago when Sanchez was just, learning his way through Major League Baseball, and we commented that this man could have a really solid Major League career. He's got some great hands as well.
And he's shown it this year, Chuck. This is the first time he's gotten a chance to play every day in the major leagues, and he's made the most of it.
That ball hit to third over to first as Nunez, one of the young Oriole players coming in from a different organization, and Moncada has to hold at second.
That wasn't a particularly good at bat for Yolmer. The reason is he saw 2 pitches, hit 2 balls to the left side. You're trying to pull the ball in that situation because you got to come away from that at bat with Moncada standing at third base one way or the other, and unfortunately Yolmer could not get it done.
So Abreu, who's 0 for 9 in his last few outings, following an 8-game hitting streak where he batted .438. Just returned a few games ago after a lower body injury. Swing and a miss. This is a Baltimore ball club. Steve, when I was preparing for this, and Jason will be back tomorrow, you literally need a scorecard to find out who's playing for the Orioles on a daily basis.
Well, you might need a scorecard for the scorecard. Buck Showalter knows who's playing, but probably just barely, as he's called a whole lot of these guys up. A lot of these guys did not spend the year with this Oriole team, and probably they're a little better for it.
Well, this is a Baltimore ball club that made some major trades, not only with Machado going to the Dodgers, Scope going to Milwaukee, made a big-time trade with Atlanta as well. Just a boatload of pitchers went to the Braves. And 6 of the 15 players they acquired with prospects are in the Oriole clubhouse today. With a foul ball off to the right.
And there's a lot of people that feel the Orioles didn't quite get enough for the guys they traded away. And granted, there was some guys that handcuffed the opposition, but when you're trading away Manny Machado, you figured to get a bundle in return because he was in the last year of a contract. They got a few good players back, but not near as much as a lot of people felt they could have gotten from the Dodgers. Infield is back. They're going to concede the run as Buck Showalter figures he's got a youngster on the mound making his first major league start. He doesn't want to get him in a hole too early, but he also wants to stay out of the big inning, and he figures the trade, the ground ball for the run, assuming that Moncada can score, is a good trade at this point.
Ortiz, one of the young Oriole pitchers coming over in that Milwaukee trade. And Steve, you can go right down the list.
I mean, they traded away some very good players. The Braves were the beneficiaries of getting 3 of those guys, Brock, Gausman, and O'Day, and Gausman's going to be a very good pitcher for them.
2-2, 1 out. Another foul as the Sox and Orioles split a 4-game series in Chicago in May. Sox won a couple of ball games, 3-2 and 11-1. In that series, the Sox belted out 4 homers, drove in 19 with a team batting average of .274. Abreu hit .333 in that series in Chicago.
Right now, Jose's got a lifetime batting average of .372 against Baltimore. That is #1 of all the players who have played against the Orioles. He is the #1 guy at this point at .372.
Ortiz began this season in Biloxi of the Southern League, then went to Norfolk. There's a fly ball in the gap to left center. Mullins, they're very high on him, coming in from AAA baseball. And the throw is just wide of the bag as Moncada moves to third. So Daniel Polka now at the plate for the White Sox. And I'll tell you what, Steve, watching you and Jason and Hawk this season, this is one of the true feel-good stories for the White Sox this year.
It's a great story, and he's certainly going to love to hit in this ballpark. Left-handers do, because it's a good park to pull the ball, only .318 down the line, even with the high scoreboard. It's not difficult to hit it out in right, but it's very easy to hit it out in left. It's a short wall in left, only .364 to the power alleys. And left-handers can reach that area pretty easily.
Polka with 22 home runs Steve, how much did you know about him coming into this season?
Well, we saw him in spring training. Obviously, we knew that he could hit the ball. He could hit it hard. We didn't know much of anything else about him. And we realized as the year went on that not only could he hit the ball hard, but he could hit it hard both to left and right field, as well as straightaway center. So you take a guy who can hit it out in any part of the ballpark, and he's probably going to have a decent year for you. And this has been a banner year for him.
1-1 pitch with 2 outs. Now, I talked to Daniel prior to the ball game about being a designated hitter, and does he go underneath and hit in the cage? Does he stay around the clubhouse? Does he watch from the dugout? And he says, no, I want to be engaged. I'm in the dugout.
It's not an easy thing to do because you're not raised as a designated hitter for the most part. You're raised as a man who plays the field.
Swing and a miss. 2-2-2. So Baltimore coming in with only 42 wins. They've got 104 losses. They're on pace to lose even more games than they did in 1988 when they finished 54 and 107. They started that year losing their first 21. 3-2 with 2 outs now.
This is where Ortiz is going away from his strength. His strength is down and making it move, but in order to take advantage of Polka's weakness, he's trying to throw the ball upstairs. He's thrown one by him, and he missed by plenty with the other one.
Ball coming straight after Steve Stone, just underneath us.
Yeah, a little below us. Plenty of room.
Yeah, what was the ball game? Was it against the Angels where you and Jason, when that ball came right into the booth?
There was a few this year, as a matter of fact.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mother Nature has cooperated because there was slight mist and a little bit of rain when we went to lunch today at noon. A little blooper, and that's going to drop in for a base hit as Polka delivers an RBI single as Moncada scores the White Sox on the board 1-0 here in the first.
We talked about Daniel being able to take it the opposite way. This is a fastball that Ortiz tried to get up. It's not up near as high as he would want. He got it belt high, and Daniel was able to just muscle it out into left center field, driving home run number 58. And the Sox on top 1-0.
Javi Garcia, 239, 16 homers, 41 RBIs. Davis holding Polka on at first. Give me an idea, Steve, what you have seen out of Garcia this year. He's been banged up, obviously.
Yeah, unfortunately, he started off swinging it well. He came off a year, Chuck, where he hit 330 and everything was going very well. Then he came with his first hamstring difficulty, and it was a bad one. I mean, he was gone for the better part of a couple of months. But when he came back, he was swinging it as well as you could possibly swing it. Looked like he was in line still to have that huge year.
There's a broken bat, ground ball, and the flip to Villar at second. And we're going to take a break, but the White Sox on the board. 1-0 Orioles coming to bat right here on NBC Sports Chicago. at the Harbor. Let's take a look at the Orioles starting lineup, Steve. Okay, who are these guys? Well, we know VR at short. He's been around with Houston and Milwaukee, but the great Adam Jones, big Adam Jones fan. You got DJ Stewart in left and Austin Wins behind the plate. So there you go, your Baltimore Orioles. A lot of those players were playing for the Norfolk Tides a few weeks ago.
Let's take a look at the defense, and this is how Ricky Renteria is going to put them out there with Nicky, Ryan, and Abasail in the outfield. Yomer, Tim, Yohan, and Jose in the infield, with Omar Narvaez getting the nod behind the plate. And our Lexus Experience Amazing starting pitcher is James Shields, looking for win number 7, ERA a touch above 4.5.
So Mullins will lead off, the center fielder. He's listed at 5'8", 175.
That may be a little ambitious.
Yeah. But they are very, very excited about having him in center field. They moved Adam Jones to right, and Jones has become a mentor for Mullins. Slices off left.
Well, Adam Jones realizes this is the last year of his contract, and odds are overwhelming. Although he might come back, the odds are overwhelming that he will be wearing a different uniform next year. But still a guy that has been a team leader since he put on that uniform, a guy that is very well respected by his manager, Buck Showalter. Will tell you a little about Jones later on.
And there's a base hit to right field over Moncada. He's talking about James Shields. This is his 405th major league ball game, his 403rd start. He's got a career record of 144 and 139. He's had a solid career, Steve.
And in the opening, we talked about the fact that James has over 400 starts.
Yep.
His mound opponent is in his first major league start. It's the 8th time in Baltimore Oriole history where a pitcher with over 400 starts has faced a first-timer.
That's going to bring on Jonathan VR. VR, who came over from Milwaukee in the trade that sent Scope to the Brewers. And VR just a couple of years ago for Milwaukee led the National League in stolen bases with 62. Throw over the first. VR, you know, he's played a lot of second. Now he's playing some short, with Valera getting a good look at second base for Buck Showalter's team. But he's kind of reckless on the base paths, Steve.
Well, he's reckless would be one term, yes. Sometimes a touch careless, and he'll get thrown out or picked off. But he's a good, solid player, has been for a long time.
Yep.
And I mean, you're talking about a guy who back just a couple of years ago hit 285 with Milwaukee.
Yes.
Hit 19 home runs, drove in 63. So when you have those kind of numbers in 156 games, you can play.
Sox with a run here in the top of the first, with Baltimore here in the bottom of the frame as Shields takes a look over the first. With the infield in, let's see if they can get two here. Yes, they do. Nicely done. So VR grounds into a double play. A pitcher's best friend, of course.
And we'll see it here, and it turns out to be a very easy play. It's unusual, a 5-6-3, and Tim got rid of it very quickly. Didn't have to get rid of it that much from the side, but he had all kinds of time, and he got it there in plenty of time.
There's Adam Jones at the plate. Adam Jones came over from Seattle, and he has been a fixture here for many, many seasons. And he's in the twilight of a great career. Still has some, you know, mileage left on him. He nixed a trade to Philadelphia at the deadline.
Well, that's one of the things that when you're a 10-5 year man,
yep,
you have earned the right to be able to dictate if you want to go someplace. And he decided he just didn't want to do it.
A 5-time All-Star. 4 times Gold Glove Award winner. Came over in 2008 for Eric Bedard, who was a very good pitcher, but then he went to the Mariners and just had some arm problems. And Adam Jones has blossomed here with Baltimore and has become a fixture for this Oriole organization, not only on the field, but more importantly, off the field as well. He has been a great ambassador for this team. It's a lazy fly ball. Drifting back and racing in to make the catch is Garcia in right. We're going to go to break with the White Sox in front, 1-0.
Later in tonight's game.
And we'd like to welcome all of our viewers watching and streaming the game on Xfinity. Chuck Swirsky for Jason Benetti. Jason will be back in this chair tomorrow, working alongside the great Steve Stone. We're going to talk about Steve and his brilliant career here as an Oriole during the course of our ball game. But that's going to bring on Omar Narvaez. Narvaez takes a pitch from Luis Ortiz. Steve, I got a stat for you, and maybe this is just a stat. Maybe you can decipher this. See what Ortiz does here. Out at 0-1 delivery. Major League Baseball catchers are hitting .233 this season, the lowest in 50 years, and fourth lowest since 1910. What do you think of that?
Well, I think they should keep working on that launch angle. I think it's probably helping their batting average a lot.
So when you pitched, did you ever hear of a launch angle?
No, you knew when a guy, I mean, look, let's take into consideration the hitter, and we'll think back to Dave Kingman.
Yep.
You remember Dave Kingman?
Former Cub, of course.
Right, and a former a lot of other
yes,
teams.
That's true.
With a huge uppercut swing. When you saw that swing as a pitcher, you knew that if you threw him a letter-high fastball, there was literally no way for him to hit it, because it was an uppercut swing. And that's one of the reasons why you're seeing the proliferation of so many strikeouts is the launch angle and everybody trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. I think eventually we'll come back to a more contact game, but it's going to be a few years down the road.
Narvaez, foul tip, 272, 6 homers, 25 RBIs. When you say it's going to maybe, everything runs in cycles back to a contact game, explain that for a moment.
Well, I think we're going to get to the point where teams are going to get a little tired of seeing 3 to 4 useless innings a night. That's anywhere from 9 to 12 strikeouts a game. You have 3 to 4 innings you can't possibly score because nobody hits the ball. I think teams will get tired of seeing 3 to 4 innings every game where you can't possibly score because nobody hits the ball.
And yet here we are in the city of Baltimore, where Earl Weaver was a guy that said, hey, a 3-run homer.
3-run homer was nice, especially when walks and base hits preceded it. Obviously, you got to the 3-run homer, you had to get a couple men on. The Orioles are in a situation where they're not getting a whole lot of guys on these days. This is a completely different team than they've had in recent vintage, but they realize that they need to have that tear down and rebuild.
Davis scoops it up, tags the bag. It really is, as someone who follows the sport and loves the sport like we all do, Steve, it's interesting to see where this game is at today compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I get it. Things are changing by the moment. But it still comes down to, can you catch the ball? Can you move the runner? Can you score?
it's not, there hasn't been as much emphasis on the running, the fielding, and the catching of the baseball, as well as the throwing of the baseball of recent vintage. We're seeing a lot of teams go away from the emphasis of that, looking for lots of home runs.
Speaking of home runs, with Tim Anderson. Anderson with the chopper. Nunez with a backhand, fumble the ball, and Anderson's going to be safe. Should be an infield hit.
It looked like Nunez was actually looking to first base before he had the ball secured in the glove. He was looking to where he was going to throw it. He comes in with the backhand.
Ooh, they're giving him an error.
We'll watch it again. Backhand pick, and on the transfer and the kick, it goes awry.
So Anderson aboard at first on an error by Nunez. Again, one of the new look Oriole players. They're giving him a long look at third. Nicky Delmonico stepping in now with the White Sox, having scored a run in the first. Delmonico, 8 homers, 24 RBIs, batting .214. He was a 6th round pick by Baltimore. He planned on attending the University of Georgia, but he signed with the Orioles and traded to the Brewers in 2013.
I was talking to somebody affiliated with the ball club, and what they said to me was when they brought Nicky over, he originally was a catcher.
Really?
And then they moved him to second base and had some problems finding a field that he could play in comfortably. They liked the way he swung the bat, and that's really been the trademark of Nicky. He swung the bat pretty well at times.
That ball is well hit on the run, Mullins, and that ball is off the wall, deep center field. Anderson turns third base, and he is headed home. And with a sliding triple, how about Nicky Delmonico, and the Sox lead 2-0.
Nicky just crushes this one. No chance at all for Mullins. He thinks he's going to make the play. He couldn't, and then he's trapped very close to the wall. The ball bounced by him. Adam Jones coming to back him up. Normally he's the man who gets backed up, but not these days, playing right field. And an RBI, number 25 for Nicky, and 2-0. Sox lead Baltimore.
Yes, sir. That's his 5th triple on the season. Ryan Cordell, he's batting 9th for the White Sox. Cordell, one of the players the White Sox recently called up. He's 0 for 12 in his rookie campaign, only his 8th major league game with runs scored and 1 RBI. 26 years old. Played collegiately at Liberty. There's a ground ball. Nice job by Nunez. Checks the runner and the throw to first. Beautifully done by Nunez.
That's really a terrific play. You don't need speed if you're going to play third base. You need first step quickness, and that first step propels you to the baseball. In this case, Nunez able to make the play. He takes a look at third from his knee, gets it over to first base, and a base hit taken away from Cordell. Ryan trying to get his first hit of his major league career, only to be robbed by Nunez.
So let's see if Moncada can bring the runner in from third with 2 outs. Moncada doubled in his first at bat. So what's your volume of work, what you've seen out of Yohan this year?
I think he's gotten better, especially from the left side. He's actually swinging the bat a bit better from the right side, but doesn't get that many at bats. I think all things considered, it was a rough start for him. I think he's gotten better as the year moved along. He has shown all of us, Chuck, that he's got some big power from both sides of the plate. I mean, you're looking at a guy that in the not too distant future probably is going to hit 30 home runs.
I would think so. And remember, he's only 23 years young, turned 23 in May. There's a chopper. Davis running to the bag, and he is safe.
Well, Ortiz decided he was going to take a look at that instead of hustling to the bag, and that was a problem as Yohan was hustling. He beats the play into a base hit and a run driven in. Ortiz slowed down a couple of different times. Ortiz thought that Davis was going to make the play, but he got this ball back too far. to beat Moncada to the bag, and he realized that. Ortiz stopped twice, pulled up, and it cost him another run.
So the White Sox with 2 here in the second. They've taken a 3-0 lead over Baltimore. Brief meeting on the mound with the Orioles. You got to field your position, you know, Steve. And the Orioles have one of the better pitchers fielding their position here for many, many years in Jim Palmer.
Jim Palmer was just outstanding, a Hall of Famer and just a great defender. But they talk about it all spring, Chuck. I mean, this is not a startling revelation to pitchers. Every time the ball is hit to the right side, somebody is yelling, "Get over there," and sometimes during the course of a game you forget about it. That time, brain cramp on Ortiz.
As Sanchez with his second at bat in as many innings, he grounded to third in the first. So this is the first of 3 in Baltimore. Then it's on to Cleveland before the White Sox return home.
Well, you look around here, Chuck, and the one thing that jumps out at you is that there are very few people coming to the ballpark these days. And this was a team that, especially when the Colts left town, this city belonged to the Orioles, and they drew really well here.
You know, when Buck Showalter took over 9 years ago, he actually, you know, did a pretty good job for many, many seasons here as the manager of the ball club.
I think he did a very good job, but the one problem for anybody that's standing in the place that Buck Showalter is standing is that you're at the mercy of who's ever giving you talent on your ball club. You can only manage who you're given by the front office. And sometimes when talent runs out, you've got a problem. That's been the case with Baltimore. Their minor league system dried up from what it once was. International scouting was almost non-existent. And consequently, there's not near as much talent in this organization as there used to be, and they're paying the price for it.
They certainly are. 2 balls and a strike with 2 outs here as the White Sox have played a couple of runs here in the top of the second. Inside pitch. And it's 3-1. This Baltimore team, they've got a lot of questions now going into the offseason because Dan Duquette, along with Buck Showalter, you know, a lot of questions regarding whether or not, as far as 2019 season. And Sanchez will take a walk. That's going to bring on Abreu, and we're going to have a trip to the mound.
Well, when the trainer comes out, you know that this is not a particularly good sign.
Yep.
And that's exactly what's happening. So it's Roger McDowell who's the pitching coach. And he's coming out there, and anytime you bring the trainer with you, it's not good, and that's going to be it for Ortiz. So apparently he was not 100% or even close to it. And his first major league start is something that no pitcher ever forgets, and Ortiz will not forget this one. Unfortunately, it will be on the negative side of the equation.
Well, we'll see who's coming in now for Buck Showalter's ball club. They're going to get somebody up, and he's, yeah, you could see Ortiz is laboring to come out. And they're going to have to get somebody warmed up. Yacobonis looks like he's going to be called upon. So with the White Sox having done some damage here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, we're going to return in a moment from Baltimore with the White Sox in front 3-0. one more time in 2018. The final homestand of the season is approaching as the Sox take on the Cubs and Indians from the 21st to 26th. Get your tickets at whitesox.com today.
Time now for the Lakeside Bank call to the pen. Lakeside Bank, it's about time. And that call to the pen is Jimmy Yacobonis, who will have as many pitches as he wants to loosen up. On for the 9th time. He's 0-2 ERA, devilish. Last year, 2-0 with these Orioles. ERA of 4.35 in 14 games, all of them out of the bullpen. In fact, coming into this year, he had never made a professional start, working entirely out of the bullpen each and every place. He was a closer to start with. That was in 2014. Very brief spell of 29 innings his first year, and then he became a closer with 14 saves. That was in just 25 and a third innings. So things went very well for him his second year. And at various times they have used him as a closer. He was a AAA closer last year before coming to Baltimore, where he worked in the middle of the bullpen. And that's where he finds himself this year.
Steve, how long does it take for a guy to really get loose, as far as in this case, in a situation where you were not expected to all of a sudden come into a ball game at this point?
Well, relievers get their arm loose before the game. I mean, they're going to do a whole lot of running. They're going to throw. They're going to make sure that they are loose so that if called upon during the game, especially in a key situation, they're not going to need all that much time. So he's not taking all that much time because, say, like most relievers, they know how to get ready pretty quickly. And even though you have as much time as you need, normally you just don't need that much.
Well, when play does resume, Abreu will step up with the White Sox in front 3-0. Well, the last time the Orioles played in a World Series, you have to dial it back to 1983. Orioles against the Philadelphia Phillies. And that's Cal Ripken making the stab. As you see Joe Altobelli, the manager of the ball club. There's Sarge Gary Matthews on the losing end. Al Bunbury. You gotta love that Oriole ball club. Unfortunately for White Sox fans, they remember that American League Championship Series back in '83 with White Sox and Orioles.
They do that, and not favorably, thanks to Tito Landrum.
Yes. So Yacobonis on the mound now for Baltimore. I remember that series, Steve, because actually Lamar Hoyt pitched very well in game 1 of that series. That is a distant memory, to say the least. 2 outs and a strike on Jose Abreu. 0-2. See what Jose can do here with runners at first and second, 2 outs, top of the second. Baltimore and the White Sox, with the White Sox jumping on the Orioles right now for 3. Yacobonis, I think, really not too pleased with that ball. Baltimore coming in 42 at 104. They beat Oakland last night 5-3 to snap a 6-game slide. They trailed Boston by 58.5 games.
Well, Boston's having one of those enchanted years. 101 and 46. 6:87 baseball heading into play tonight. They're losing to the Mets 1-0. That game in the top of the 3rd in Boston.
And it's a line out to short. Double up by VR. And we will go to the bottom of the 2nd. But damage done by the White Sox. They're in front 3-0 here in Baltimore.
Covered with over 400 locations and 6,300 top doctors. Book your same-day appointment at advocatehealth.com.
Chuck Swirsky, Steve Stone. We are in Baltimore. We go to the bottom of the second. Trey Mancini at the plate. Mancini from Notre Dame. He's played in left. He's played at first. He is a designated hitter as well.
You're going to like this guy, Chuck, because he plays a very aggressive brand of baseball and very intense guy.
As we mentioned, finished third in the Rookie of the Year balloting of season. By the way, Judge, you know, they are going to activate him, and he's not at this point in time going to do some hitting, but you know, maybe some running, some defense, whatever the case may be. But the Yankees sorely need him.
Well, they need him to swing the bat.
Yep.
They don't need him as a defensive replacement or a base running specialist. They need him to hit the ball out of the ballpark. But to the point when we were in New York, he hadn't even picked up a bat yet. So it's still going to be a bit before he comes back and ready to go.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Mancini. Shields on the mound. Narrowly missed. You know, Steve, when you look at Boston, you look at New York, you look at Houston. I mean, who do you like right now in a pecking order 1, 2, 3?
Well, you like Boston #1 because they are the best team. Now, in a short series, anybody can beat anybody.
Check swing.
And in a short series, if you got to run into Verlander and Cole and Keuchel if he's at the top of his game, I mean, they've got themselves a pretty good starting rotation to throw at you, as well as a strong ball club. And I'm talking about Houston.
That ball's well hit to left field. On the track, at the wall, and it's gone. Trey Mancini with home run number 22. And it carried out of here quickly.
Told you you'd like him. 22 and 52 on the power numbers for Mancini. He didn't hit it all that far. He hit it a line drive. We told you about the low fences in left and left center field. A Ford home run replay. He gets a fastball right down the middle and takes it out of the ballpark. And James, a veteran pitcher, knows it's gone. He doesn't even have to turn around. He could tell by the sound, and the sound was one of, it's out of here. That is home run number 30 James has given up this year.
Orioles on the board for the first time of the ball game. 3-1 Baltimore, trailing as Chris Davis at the plate. Now there are shifts and there are shifts. And Chris Davis with that huge uppercut. And to say that he is struggling, Steve, I'm being very kind here. He is batting 179, and you need 502 at bats to qualify. He is on the verge of setting a dubious record. Dan Uggla back in 2013 with Atlanta robbed Deer in 1991. Chris Davis could be on the verge of setting a new major league record. The major league record, as we mentioned, is 179. He's batting 174.
Yeah, it's a record of futility for him. It's been just a terrible year, all things considered, and they have him a lot longer.
And gets past Mancata, and that ball rolls all the way to the ball in right field. Davis is in with a double.
This one just barely got by Moncada. He was out in right field. Almost came up with it. Came up just a little short. And
Davis with his 12th double on the season.
Runs it into a 2-base hit. And the throw is just off the mark.
We'll bring on Nunez. Nunez playing third base. Made a couple of plays in this ball game. One good, one bad. Collected an error, but also made a terrific backhand stop earlier in the ball game. Right back to Shields, and they've got Davis in a rundown. And the tag applied.
Well, that was some real bad base running by Chris Davis, who's been around long enough to know better than that. But once you're hung out to dry, the Sox almost overran this rundown, but they got the job done. James does a nice job of running right back at him, and then Yuan finally gets it there, just barely getting Davis. Not what you'd like to see with a man at second and nobody out.
Valera playing second base made a beautiful play last night in a victory over Oakland, running all the way to short right field with a diving grab. And he came over from the Dodgers in the Machado deal. You know, I was looking at the standings, and I know the Dodgers are banged up as well, like a lot of clubs are, Steve. Do you realize when they made that deal with Los Angeles, the Dodgers were 10 games over 500. With Machado, they're barely over 500. But they got 5 prospects back, including that young pitcher in Diaz that they're very excited about. But Valera getting a long look at second base for Buck Showalter's team. Nunez on at first base on a 1-4-5 fielder's choice. Shields on the mound on a 0-2 pitch. And he goes the other way. Lazy fly ball to left. Delmonico with a couple of steps back makes the grab.
Still misting at the ballpark. You can see it on your screen a touch. Not enough to affect the baseball game, but just enough to make sure that it's not real dry.
So DJ Stewart, he too is making his major league debut this week. A couple of ball games. His family's in the attendance tonight. Went to Florida State University. Great program in Tallahassee. You know, the Orioles, Steve, they've gone through 55 players this year. They've used 28 pitchers, and that is a franchise record. The 55 players, most in Orioles history since they moved from St. Louis in 1954.
Shows you, unfortunately, what kind of year it's been, which is disastrous.
Called strike. Well, you know, the White Sox, at least they've got a base here. You know, when you look at the process of rebuilding, they've got some nice young pieces. It's going to be interesting as Baltimore moves forward to see where this is headed. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here. And a 3-1 Sox lead. That ball down the line in right field. And it's coming in play and
made the catch.
Yeah, makes the catch. Great job. So we go to the 3rd inning, and the White Sox with a 3-1 lead.
After show, join former Bears Matt Forte, Lance Briggs, and Alex Brown with host Lawrence Holmes after the Bears take on the Seahawks in prime time. The Football After Show presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, only on NBC Sports Chicago.
Chuck Swirsky along with Steve Stone. We were in Baltimore. Yacabonis, who replaced Ortiz after Ortiz left the ball game with an injury, and Yacabonis on in relief. White Sox with 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 3-4-0 for the White Sox, 1-3-1 for Baltimore. Polka with a single. 0-2 the count on Daniel Polka.
Drove home his 58th run of the year. Started out the Sox scoring tonight with that base hit. Moncada doing the honors, scoring the first run of the game.
There's a one bouncer to Davis covering the bag. Yacabonis, something Ortiz did not do when he was on the hill. Sox fans, we're giving back to you on Wednesday, September the 26th for Fan Appreciation Night. Steve Stone Appreciation Night. Sox take on the Indians at 7:10, last home game of the season. You'll have a chance to win a variety of prizes. Plus, be sure to stick around for the post-game fireworks show. Always entertaining. Get your tickets at whitesox.com today. Stephen, I have to thank you. You took me out to lunch today.
Well, I figured that this was a place you didn't know all that well. I would give you the benefit of many years here. And went to a nice place called Moe's.
Yes, for a cod sandwich. A little tartar sauce. It was outstanding.
Very nice.
Garcia 0 for 1. Avi Garcia against Yacabonis. You know, Steve, when I watch your ball games, especially when they're in Chicago and they bring you and Jason a ton of food. Now, somewhere in the broadcast, because we want to make sure that we highlight Steve Stone and his career here in Baltimore, inside pitch. But I mean, these Orioles, they won World Series in '66. And then they returned in '69. They lost to the Mets. '70, they beat the Reds. And then '71, they lost a heartbreaking series against the Pirates. And then Oakland took over. 3 straight, 72, 73, 74.
Yes, they did. But Baltimore was a good team for a long time, and the organization now has fallen on hard times, and the division's not getting any softer because Boston, New York, to a certain extent, Tampa Bay. You know, Tampa Bay is 80 and 65.
Yeah, you know what, Steve? I want to talk about them for a moment. As Garcia will take a walk. Nice job by Avi. You know, I've been watching a lot of ball, and I'm seeing this Tampa Bay ball club. They had an interesting offseason. They made some decisions that really panned out for them this year.
Well, look, that's a team that plays a good, solid brand of baseball, and they seem to change a whole lot. You take a look at the standings and realize that the Rays at 15 over. They're having just an enchanted year. However, when you're chasing the Red Sox, you're 20 games back at this point. Doesn't look like you accomplished a great deal, but you certainly did, especially in that division where you have to play each and every one of these teams 18 or 19 times. Toronto is not a bad baseball team, although this has not been one of their banner years.
Narvaez deep to center field. Mullins at the wall, leaps, and that ball is out of here. Narvaez with a shot to deep center field. It's a 2-run blast, and the White Sox lead 5-1.
Mullins went back, tried to time it perfectly, but came up just a little short. 7th home run of the year for Omar. He's driven in 27. The Sox are starting to bear down, and Yacabonis gives up the long ball. It's our 4th home run replay. Nice timing, but fortunately, he's just not tall enough.
I can relate to that.
We both can.
So Tim Anderson at the plate now for the White Sox, who have really jumped on this Baltimore team. For the White Sox, 5-5-0. Coming off a 4-2 12-inning victory over Kansas City the other night on a 2-run shot by Anderson. I really have enjoyed watching Anderson blossom this year.
Well, he's so much a better player right now than he was when this season started. It's just amazing. There's nobody on this particular ball club that's made the strides that Tim has made this year.
Career best, Steve, in home runs, doubles, RBIs, and runs. Sox fans are just going to enjoy watching him as he continues to improve, continues to develop.
It's confidence, really. I mean, he's so confident right now at shortstop. He believes he can make every play. That was a good hard slider, and he went down on strikes. So we'll take a look at Wednesday. It was quite a day for Tim Anderson. He takes it out of the ballpark, and that was a game winner. That's always a thrill. And so is this aspect of the game for Tim these days. Firing it across, and that was it. That was the ball game, the last play of the game. Tim Anderson had quite a night, and he keeps on getting better. And for American League pitchers, that should be a frightening proposition because he's pretty good now.
Delmonico, who tripled in the ball game. Yeah, I want to get back to something you mentioned, Steve, and we can go a lot of different directions with this with a 1-0 count with 2 outs here. Yacobonis on in relief as Delmonico takes a called strike. You mentioned the amount of times teams play one another in the division. Do you like the current setup in the schedule?
I like it for what they're trying to accomplish now, but I do believe it's going to go away.
You do? Why?
I'll tell you what.
Okay.
I think the fans eventually are going to want to see the stars of the game more than just once. And let's just take Mike Trout for instance, because he is the preeminent star of our league. And if not the best player in baseball, he's in the top 2.
There's a
This
lazy
one's, yeah, sliced out of play. But the thing is, Mike Trout only comes in one time, and it's a 3-game series. Might be a 4-game depending, but it's usually a 3-game series only once. If you play what's called a balanced schedule, you still have room for interleague play, but you're also going to play teams in your division the same amount of times, teams in the league the same amount of times, so that Mike Trout would come in twice instead of just once. If you miss him the first time, or if he's hurt, you can go 2 years without seeing some of the stars of the game, and I don't think in the long run that helps baseball. So I think eventually we'll go back to a more balanced look where guys will come in for 2 different series, and if you miss him the first time, you can see him the second time.
Speaking of Trout, by the way, there is a story that the Angels are going to try and lock him up to a lifetime deal.
Can't blame him.
Oop. Off-speed pitch, swing and a miss, and he struck him out. But Omar Narvaez with a 2-run blast to deep center field. And for Omar, his 7th home run of the season. White Sox with a lead here on the road in Baltimore. And welcome back to Baltimore. Chuck Swirsky filling in for the great Jason Benetti, and Jason will be back tomorrow. He's on assignment tonight working with Steve Stone on NBC Sports Chicago and all the fine men and women in the production truck down below us. As the Orioles, they're going with Austin Wynns behind the plate. And again, this is a position, and there are a lot of positions up for grabs with this Baltimore team as they move forward. They've been going with Caleb Joseph and Wynns and whatnot. But again, a position right now that's kind of in flux.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, this entire Oriole team is taking a look at next year and wondering just exactly what direction the organization's going in and what they're going to do. Who is going to be part of the future? Who's going to be part of the past? They're not quite sure if Adam Jones is going to be brought back to the team. He's been such a big part of this organization since getting here. And he's one of the guys now that Buck Showalter's having difficulty finding spots for on a daily basis, because you don't want to see him depart sitting on the bench the last 2 weeks of the season.
Well, you start thinking about catchers. One of the good people in Baltimore history, Rick Dempsey, paid you a visit. He just celebrated a birthday yesterday. Commentator with the Orioles television crew. He could call the game, and you know firsthand.
He does pre and post here and really enjoys it. Been in Baltimore a long time. Terrific catcher, played a lot of years in the major leagues.
Yeah, why was he such a good catcher? Because you talk to a lot of pitchers who enjoyed, having him behind the plate.
He just could catch it, throw it, could call a good game, block pitches exceptionally well, and that's really what any pitcher wants. They want his catcher to be able to block pitches, especially with a man at third base. If you're a breaking ball pitcher, you want to know that your slider or your curveball, if called by the catcher, he's going to be able to smother. Make sure it won't get by him. Otherwise, you won't throw your best breaking ball.
Wynns batting .250 on a 2-2 count. Little chopper, a tapper out in front. Shields fields his position with a looping throw to Abreu. Your 2018 White Sox, presented by Guaranteed Rate, your trusted teammate throughout the mortgage process. Experience the difference today at rate.com. So, Steve, would Dempsey hold you accountable? I mean, did you have some serious meetings on the mound or off the field?
No, you don't have real serious meetings on the mound. I mean, I'm talking about, you're saying this is your fault or that's your fault. What Rick said to me, he came to me very early in our association. He said, with a man at third base, I want your best curveball because you can't throw it by me. He said, the only way you can get a ball by me is to throw it over my head. That gives a breaking ball pitcher a lot of confidence, and Rick was true to his word. Every time I would throw a breaking ball in the dirt, and your wipeout curveball, more times than not, is thrown in the dirt. If you know it's not going to get by the catcher, then you throw your best one. If you have a thought process where it might get by, you're going to hang it.
Mullins at the plate. He singled in the first inning of play. Here's Rick Dempsey.
He always loved peanuts. He always loved peanuts. I remember that.
Top foul. We were talking about Mullins at 5'8", 175. He's got speed, and the Orioles need some speed. It reminds me of players that were vertically challenged, like a broadcaster. Thank you very much, myself. Remember Craig Brabeck of the White Sox in the early 90s? What was he? He must have been, what, 5'7"?
Maybe a touch smaller.
Yep. Inside pitch. Yeah, his nickname was the Little Hurt from the Hawk, and we want to wish Hawk all the best with his beautiful wife Eris and the kids and the grandkids. And the White Sox have done such a tremendous job honoring Hawk. One day he'll be in the Hall of Fame, the Ford C. Frick Award. And that's a called third strike. Mullins will take a seat on the bench. And, while I have this chance, as a fan, I've loved watching the broadcast. And let me just make this, and I'm not going to patronize you, Steve, but it's true. I think Hawk will be in the Hall of Fame one day. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame, and I won't see it, but I think Jason's going to be in the Hall. I think Jason has an incredible upside. Yeah,
there's no doubt that he's a very good broadcaster now. He's going to be just a wonderful broadcaster as we move down the years. I think the Sox are very, very fortunate to have him, and hopefully he will be here a long time. I pretty much think he will be.
Yes, and you guys do such a fantastic job on television. And listen, everyone wants to see a pennant winner, and I get that.
Every year
But
you'd love to see it.
It's been informative, it's been entertaining, and it's been great baseball on television, to say the least. Shields takes something off that with VR. Sweeping swing, 0-2 count. You know, when we were doing games a couple of years ago, VR, remember, was playing short for Houston before Correa got the call up. And Shields gets the job done. And we go now to the 4th inning here in Baltimore. Sox sailing along, up 5-1.
Inside look presented by Cadillac. We go one-on-one with a man who led the Loyola Ramblers men's basketball team to the Final Four. Head coach Porter Moser. Inside look tomorrow at 6:30, or stream the show on the NBC Sports app.
Yeah, Porter did an outstanding job, obviously, taking that ball club. They won some thrillers in the NCAA tournament, and he's put together an outstanding recruiting class coming in as well. Hard to believe that basketball is just around the corner. Blackhawks ready to face off.
Both hockey and basketball pretty much ready to start it up.
Yep.
Which means you get ready to kick it off.
Yes.
So to speak.
With Bill Winnington on the radio side, as the Bulls with Jabari Parker signing a deal in the offseason. It's going to be a young, exciting Chicago Bulls basketball team. You'll see a ton of games right here at NBC Sports Chicago with Neil Funk and Stacey King.
It's going to make our road prize that we give away for Sox Math a little bit tougher to accomplish.
Yes. And by the way, right on cue there, Steve. Funny how that works. Sox Math. You can take James Shields' jersey number, all right, his jersey number. So you got to watch, ladies and gentlemen, and the number of starts Shields has pitched, 6 innings plus this season. Hashtag on Twitter, Sox Math, and you could win a prize from the road.
Yes, and you know, I wasn't going to say anything, but I think our fans who participate in Sox Math want to know what they would get if they win. You are on the road for the first time this year, so I am suggesting to you that you go to the house of the winner of Sox Math and call a Bulls game live for them in their living room.
You know what? Why not?
What do you think? You can bring Bill Winnington with you. He's a nice guy. He said he's a terrific guy.
He is. He is so big. I'll tell you what, though. You know, I'm just tired of carrying his bags on the road. Chuck, there you go. Oh, really? That's how it works.
You and Bill in someone's living room calling the game would be outstanding.
Well, speaking of outstanding, how about Moncada tonight?
Been pretty good. Run scored, run driven in, 2 for 2, and a chance to add to those numbers.
Well, we were so concerned about Mother Nature doing her thing today. There's a ground ball to the right side, in for a base hit. Moncada now 3 for 3. We talked about the development of Anderson. This is another young man, Moncada, I can't wait to see in front of our very eyes over the next few years.
Well, Tim Anderson was a little more developed baseball-wise than Yohan Moncada. So consequently, he is ahead of him as far as Major League talent is concerned, but Moncada is starting to get better and better. And he's going to be an offensive force, especially from the left side, and eventually he's going to be an offensive force from both sides of the plate.
Sanchez 0 for 1 with a walk. There's a ground ball. This could be 2. And it is. That was a quick inning. And we'll return in a moment from Baltimore with the White Sox out in front. Now go do your math, Steve. Customers say, show me the Chicago White Sox into your X1 voice remote and get live team stats on your TV. Change the way you experience TV with Xfinity X1.
There's the Hall of Famer.
I love him.
Jim Palmer, high leg kick.
How about this, Steve? Jim Palmer, 1966 World Series, 20 years young, beat Sandy Koufax in Koufax's last appearance as a major league pitcher. In that series, folks, Baltimore won the opener 6-5. They shut out the Dodgers 3 straight. This guy, Jim Palmer, 20 years young, beats Koufax.
He didn't make the Hall of Fame because he can't pitch.
No, and I'll tell you what, Koufax, if you think about it, Steve, and I know you idolized him as a young man growing up, he had his arthritic elbow and that arm. I mean, he talked about the agony and the pain he felt that season in '66. He never pitched again.
Well, I think, as I heard the story told, the doctor said, you can pitch for another few years, or you can throw one more pitch and lose the use of your arm. And he said, you know what, I've pitched enough. And that was that.
Round ball. It's going to be foul. One thing about Sandy Koufax, we talked about how great major league pitchers are. Sandy Koufax, in my opinion, Steve, is the greatest left-handed pitcher in the history of the sport.
Right. If not the greatest. Again, he had a short career. He's right up there with some of the best that ever lived. I mean, Randy Johnson, when you look at his numbers, were spectacular. There's been some others, but Sandy was right there, certainly.
But Palmer to do this in the World Series on the biggest stage at 20 years young. And then he hurt his arm.
He went down the minor leagues.
Yep. Adam Jones at the plate, check swing. Yeah, and he hurt his arm, folks. He was exposed in the expansion draft for the 69. That's when Seattle came in the league, the Pilots and the Royals and the Padres and the Expos, and no one took him. And then he came back and
worked out pretty well for him.
Yes, it did. In the meantime, it worked out pretty well for Adam Jones in a Baltimore uniform. Swing and a miss.
Well, the one thing Jones is not going to do is walk. We've talked about a couple of guys. Salvi Perez was one of them. Adam Jones is right there. 523 at bats, 22 walks this year. That's it. James Shields rolling right along, throwing it pretty well. He's given up 3 hits. Solo home run by Mancini, the only blemish.
Yep.
And here is the aforementioned Mancini.
Yes. Well, we talked about Mancini from Notre Dame, and with Shields, with the delivery, you know, I can just hear Hawk saying, "Chuck, don't forget, Cody Yastrzemski went to Notre Dame," which he did. But there have been a number of solid baseball players from Notre Dame. Greg Counsell, the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, who won a World Series for Arizona in 2001. He went to Notre Dame.
I played against a couple of football players that were also playing baseball.
Yep.
Rudy Kuchenberg was one.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Hardy was another.
Kevin Hardy.
They were part of that Notre Dame baseball team that I played against. I'd never seen a bigger group of baseball players in my life.
Jeff Samardzija, of course.
That was a little later, but yeah.
Kevin Hardy could play big time. He was an outstanding football player. Ron Reed, a former member of the White Sox. He was a 2-sport star. Ron Reed was in the NBA, played for the Pistons for a couple of years, but he was really good pitcher, major league pitcher, a starter. Bounces off the chest of Narvaez. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out here. In the bottom of the 4th for the Orioles, with the White Sox scoring 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third. They lead 5-1. And that ball drilled again to left field. At the wall, looking up, and Mancini has done it again. Oh my goodness, Trey Mancini.
You like him yet?
I do now.
He's hit 23 home runs, driven in 53. He's responsible for all the Orioles scoring. This was a breaking ball that he just reached down and took out of the park. So 2 for 2, 2 home runs, 5th career multi-homer game. And we'll take another look. There's the hook, and it's gone. A Ford home run replay. Mancini having quite a night.
So Chris Davis, who doubled to right in his first at bat. He's a good-looking young player, though, Mancini.
Oh, he's very aggressive, and I'd like the way he plays the game.
That ball fouled off to the left.
You know, when we look at this year, Chuck, around baseball especially, and we look at the planning that teams do for the season, the White Sox, for one, understood that they were in the middle of a rebuild. This is year 2 of the White Sox rebuild. It was a professed rebuild. They were one of the teams that said, okay, we're going to tear it down and we're going to rebuild it. But Kansas City didn't expect a rebuild this year, as Chris Davis looks at strike 3. Kansas City, one of those teams. Baltimore, another one of those teams. They never expected a tear down and rebuild. Another one of the teams having a real tough year, and that's Cincinnati. They certainly did not expect a tear down and rebuild this year. So a lot of teams having bad years, Chuck, did not have a rebuild. It surprised a lot of teams when things started to fall apart, whether it was through injuries or just they didn't have quite enough talent. But that's why some of these teams were unprepared for the kind of year that they had. And that's why the Sox are ahead of a lot of those teams in rebuilding and looking to the future, is because this was a planned tear down. And some of the young players have served notice that they're pretty close. Some of them are ready to go, and some of them are pretty close.
On a 1-0 pitch to Nunez, the third baseman for Baltimore. Shields has given up a couple of solo blasts to Mancini. So I want to ask you a follow-up question on this, Steve. As far as at the end of the year when you have organizational meetings, do you look at a player with the volume of work from the get-go, or do you say, okay, you know what, he turned the corner the last 60, 70 games of the season? How do you evaluate a player?
You try to evaluate the full season. However, there's a lot of different scouts that will tell you, and again, everybody has a different viewpoint of this. A lot of scouts will tell you disregard what you see in spring training, disregard what you see in September.
Really?
And will evaluate the player from the other time in between, because that's playing against the guys that they're going to play against. Now, granted, if you only have spring training, you only have September, then you have to go with the minor league numbers. But every scout, every organization is different.
That ball hit to right, a couple of steps over to his left is Garcia with the out. We'll be back in a moment. I want to continue that theme. That's an interesting topic. Chuck Swirsky, Steve Stone, we're in Baltimore. You take Gene Shields' jersey, number 33, the number of starts Shields has pitched, 6+ innings, plus 23, 56. Twitter winner @MadAtSpoon.
There you go. I think it's a first-time winner.
You know what? So let's see, from the road.
He's going to be ecstatic when you come over his house with Bill Wennington and call a Bulls game.
Yeah, but from the road, maybe I can give him a little tartar sauce from today at lunch.
You could. It might be a little gamey by the time it gets there, but nice idea.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Abreu at the plate. Jose flying to center in the first, line to short in the second. So, Steve, let's get back as far as evaluating players. Every organization has a different mindset, a vision. I understand that. But up high, 1-1. So, as far as the organizational meetings, take me through what they discussed at the end of the season as far as looking at a player.
Well, never having been to them, I can't tell you exactly how they would work. I will tell you what they talk about, though. And they talk about, they're looking at each player and they're figuring out what he did this year. And they're also looking at some of the projections they made on those players, because at the beginning of the year, everybody will say, what do you think he's going to do? You know, where's the ceiling for him? Give me some numbers as to what you think he's going to accomplish. Did he learn what we wanted him to learn?
There's a rocket to short. Nice play, and the throw got him. Oh, Jonathan VR deep in the hole. Rifles it.
Terrific play by VR as he makes the play to his backhand, has plenty of time after sliding on the grass, knows that Abreu is going up the line. So he's able to get a whole lot on the throw and gets it across in time.
Right on the edge, and that delivery had something on it. So anyways, go ahead.
So anyway, so you're evaluating your players as what did they do this year and how did they look to the organization? Did they accomplish what they wanted them to accomplish? And every year they figure out which steps their young players should take, where they should be. I mean, there's certain guys that you say, okay, we're going to let him play this year, and next year we believe that he's going to make it to Double-A. And let's say he's already in high A ball and has not made it to Double-A. Then you look at him and say, okay, we'll give him a shot. We see what happens with him. And sometimes that guy will surprise you, actually move quicker than you think. Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams talk a lot about players who force their hand as opposed to what they expect, and when a player does really well, what they accomplish, and those guys get through the system. The advantage that White Sox players have in this organization is that the White Sox habitually have brought players to the major leagues long before other organizations would. They've given their young players a chance to move in the organization and excel as a member of the White Sox.
And VR cannot make the play at short.
Well, there's an example of he thought he had that ball all the way, and instead of going and getting it, he coasted across and he just missed the ball. It's as simple as that. It is a base hit, but it's a play that VR should have made. It's off the end of the bat. He goes across, goes to make it, and just misses it.
That was a generous call there.
I think
he should have made that catch.
Yeah, I think that's
now we have a different angle.
But it was not. And Daniel will love to go 2 for 3.
Absolutely. You know, Steve, this is what, when we talk to young people, whether it's in baseball, basketball, sports, non-sports, here's a shot hit to deep left field on the track at the wall, and it is out of here. Javi Garcia with a 2-run smash, and the White Sox on the board, and they're up 7-2. Ball's flying out of here, but again, with left field here in Baltimore.
This is a wonderful home run park. Doesn't matter what direction you hit the ball in. Avi goes deep. That fastball riding up and in. Our 4th home run replay, and for Avi, that's his 17th. He's driven in 43, and a base hit and a 2-run homer. Starting out here in the 5th inning.
And speaking of home runs, last time Narvaez was at the plate, he clouded a 2-run shot.
And with that home run, there's going to be another generous donation from the Alex Snellius family in loving memory of Ursula. And there's 2 home runs and 2 donations.
And that ball ripped to right, and that's going to be a foul. So when we talk about opportunities, you know, all these young players want an opportunity. Just like someone says, Chuck, how can I get into broadcasting? You're given an opportunity. You got to make the most out of it.
Well, it's a different world. You're talking about a youngster wanting to get in broadcasting that, let's say, has not been a player. Then he has to start from way back somewhere to get that first job, and the first job is essential. And that's what, when you're talking about players, Chuck, they're looking to try to get one day in the major leagues.
Yes.
If they sign a professional contract, they want one day in the major leagues. That's all they want to start. Then obviously, if you get there, you want to make sure you stay there. But the goal is to get one day. Get your one day, get your one at bat, or your 1 inning pitched, 1 hitter, whatever it is you want.
Because, Steve, when you left the Orioles organization, again, you had to retire because of your arm situation. But, I mean, you went to the networks, did you not?
Yeah, that was a break. I was very fortunate to be able to start there. And, you know, then get the opportunity to continue to be working in an industry that I love.
Donnie Hart just recalled. He's up in the bullpen for Baltimore. Inside pitch. Well, the White Sox, Narvaez clubbing a 2-run home run for Ricky Renteria's ball club. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. White Sox with a 7-2 lead. Baltimore's home runs off the bat of Mancini, a couple of solo shots. It's the first of 3 over the weekend. And that hit him.
That one got him right in the knee.
Sure did.
There is no circumstance where that one feels good. Ricky and Hermie going out there now to talk with Omar. He gets a slider and catches it right on the outside of the right knee. So Roger McDowell will take this opportunity to come out and meet with Yakubonis.
McDowell, by the way, in his own right, was a superb major league pitcher back in the day.
Terrific, and had one of the great sinkers around. And I talked with him about it. He said that that sinker wasn't near as good until he had elbow surgery. And he said he has no idea what happened or why it happened, but all he knows is that sinker became his mainstay. Probably broke another 4 or 5 inches straight down than when before he had the surgery. And again, he cannot explain why and has no idea how in the world it happened.
We'll have to check inside the truck. If my memory serves me correct, I believe he won Game 7 of the '86 World Series for the Mets.
You could have told me Schlim de Virik and I would have agreed with you.
Let's see what Anderson can do now with Narvaez on at first. One out here in the top of the 5th inning in Baltimore. 7-2 White Sox. Jason Benetti will be back tomorrow. Always a pleasure having a chance to work with Steve. There's a line shot to third. Well hit. Nunez played him perfectly. And we get the word from the truck that McDowell, in fact, did win Game 7 of the World Series, and we're going to have a pitching change here.
That is going to be it for Yakubonis. He will leave the game as Buck Showalter takes the baseball. And as he walks out, so will we. We'll be back.
In many ways, Latinos put an accent on baseball. You can share how you put an accent on the game with hashtag Ponle Acento.
It's our Lakeside Bank call to the pen. And it's going to be a left-hander. Donnie Hart coming into the game on for the 16th time. No record, ERA of 5.79. 8 walks in 14 innings is not good control. Left-handers and right-handers torching him to the tune of 369.
White Sox with a runner on first base. 2 outs here in the 5th inning. Off-speed pitch, and it's 1-0. So for the Orioles, Hart, who was recalled today, 28 pitchers used this season by the Orioles. Baltimore ended a 6-game slide last night. They've had 8 streaks of losing 6 or more games this season. Oakland came to town. I'll tell you what, Steve, you look at the job Bob Melvin has done with that ball club, the Athletics. Wow. Here's the pitch right over the plate.
No, Oakland's had just a magnificent year.
But their pitching staff has been decimated.
I know, and right now they're tied 1-1 with Tampa Bay in Tampa. We talked about how well Tampa was doing. For Oakland, these games are essential. That was a big loss for them here last night.
Yes, it was.
We'll take a look at the West, where the Astros holding on. 4 games up in the loss column. The Mariners have pretty much died out of this one.
Yeah, what happened to them? They had such a great first half.
As soon as they signed the contract extensions, the team started to go downhill, but had nothing to do with the contract extension. It's just the way it worked out.
Yep.
But Scott Servais deserves a hand. Jerry DiPoto for putting that team together, a very active general manager. Scott Servais did a great job as a young manager there in Seattle. So things bright for the Mariners. They got right up until the end and just completely went downhill.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. And he walked. Just got a word from Orioles statistician Hart has been recalled from the minors 9 times this season.
It's a traveling man.
I guess so. Might as well just punch that ticket with Norfolk back and forth.
Well, if he got bonus miles, he's in good shape.
Well, it isn't that far. How far is Norfolk from here by car? About 3.5, 4 hours?
Pretty close.
Yeah. Actually, I was born in Norfolk before my father, who was in the Navy, transferred to Seattle. And they were known as the Tidewater Tides back in the day, now Norfolk Tides, but they were a White Sox farm club. And I remember my first professional game I went to, Dick Kenworthy was the third baseman, going way back in the day. Bruce Howard was pitching for the White Sox.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, my mom actually taught Bruce Howard in school. And the White Sox
taught
had
him how to pitch?
Well, taught, yeah, well, the White Sox in spring training had to make a decision. Do they keep Bruce Howard or Denny McLain?
They made the right choice.
And
they kept Bruce Howard. Yes, I know. Well, Denny went on and did a few things.
31 wins in 1968. Last 30-game winner in Major League Baseball. 1-1 the count with 2 outs here. Seems like we've been in the top of the 5th a long time. You ever think we're going to see another 30-game winner? I mean, you won 25.
Yeah, I don't think so. I just don't think guys will get enough starts to win 30 games again. They're having a hard enough time getting to the 25 mark. I mean, they're just not getting the starts.
Hart with the check of the runners. Swing it to us. Steve, the situation with Tampa, that's interesting what they do with the relievers starting for an inning or 2.
They have the openers. They have guys that will pitch an inning or so, sometimes 2 innings to start the ball game. Then they bring in guys that will eat up some innings. And I mean, it's an interesting concept, one which I don't believe will work for a contending team, but Tampa Bay has done a nice job of it this year.
They really have. Swing and a miss, and that's going to end the inning, but a productive one. Avi Garcia going yard. Big time. Moment to left the bat. We'll return to Baltimore in a moment. accolades. You know, Chuck Garfien, you know, because I watch every broadcast, and I told Chuck this the other day in the locker room. You know, Steve, he not only has so much passion, and he's an intelligent. I mean, it's great the stories that he brings our viewers with the White Sox.
I think the one thing that you have to love about Chuck is the fact that he works as hard as he does. I mean, he gets a lot of stories. He gets all that he has to get, and some that you're surprised he does. I think he does a great job.
Valera with a lazy fly ball to left. Delmonico with the catch. We have one out. Yeah, and I mean, you know, his trips to the minors and getting to know these players and storytelling is so important as White Sox fans get to know these young players as they will develop throughout the farm system in the major league level.
It also brings our viewers a different dimension that they might not ordinarily get, which is Chuck being down by the dugout, getting some stories, and going into the stands to get stories during the course of the game. So all works really well.
With the exception really of Mancini, what do you think of the job Shields has done?
I think even including Mancini, James has done a nice job. And considering he has not won on the road for quite some time, tonight's the night.
Yeah, the last time James Shields has won on the road was opening day in Kansas City.
In a while.
But really, the volume of work for James Shields, he has done a terrific job in big league baseball. 13 seasons as a major league pitcher. Kansas City, Tampa, of course, where he was phenomenal. Kansas City, because San Diego, White Sox. He's eaten up a lot of innings at his time, Steve.
A lot of innings, a lot of hitters, a lot of pitches. Because James prides himself on taking the baseball. Every fifth day, he's going to take the baseball. And it hasn't always been pretty, but the fact is, he's making his 31st start of the year. Most pitchers in this day and age, if they make 32, that's considered a full season and a lot of work. And James is going to go over 200 innings this year. He's over 190 already.
Shields threw 2-run, 5-hit ball in 7 innings in Chicago in May when the White Sox split a pair with the Orioles. 7-2 White Sox, 3-2 the count with 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
That one just off to our left as James tried to end the at-bat with a straight change, but Stewart able to fight it off. Stewart, a former #1 draft pick.
Yep.
Not a tall guy, but a wide guy. Very strong. And the Orioles believe that he's got a chance.
Shields elected to sign. He was a 16th round pick by Tampa in 2001, made his major league debut in 2006. And he was thinking about going to LSU. And you know, Steve, if you think about this, the Orioles have another commentator in the booth from LSU, Ben Mcdonald, who was the #1 overall pick back in '89. He was a pretty good pitcher. Another foul ball.
Ben McDonald had some of the best stuff to ever come along as an amateur pitcher. And then he got hurt very early in his career.
Yep.
Never really amounted to what they felt he was going to. But Ed Farmer was one of the guys that scouted him early in Ben's career. And he, like every one of the other scouts, was just amazed at how well he threw the baseball.
You get those programs like LSU anywhere really in the SEC, but also I'll tell you another program over the years, and there's a little chopper to first. Abreu scoops it up. Easy play. Is Oregon State. Pat Casey just announced his retirement after 24 years in Corvallis as head coach of the Beavers.
Yeah,
Oregon State.
That's because he lost Nick Madrigal.
Yeah. Sox #1 pick.
And 4th pick in the country, and Nick's going to be a terrific player.
Yes, he is.
He's going to put the bat on the ball.
But I mean, you think of Oregon State, you think, how do they get so good? I mean, but they are good, and they have been good. 2 outs here. Austin wins.
This is one of those guys that's like an old style catcher. If he catches up to one, he can hit it a long way. Batting average 250 coming in. But he's very strong and has a good, solid stroke.
Some of the great Oriole catchers of yesteryear. We talked a lot about Rick Dempsey. One of the catchers that really was here, not only Andy Etchebarren, for those who follow the history of baseball, Etchebarren was very, very good behind the plate. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite players was here for many, many seasons. Swing and a miss was Elrod Hendricks.
Elrod Hendricks was in the bullpen when I got here. A wonderful man. And he was one of those guys that the organization could count on to explain to the players how they wanted from an organization them to act.
I mean, just a really good gentleman, and having an opportunity to talk with him on a number of occasions when he was a coach and as a player, because he was here with Baltimore, went to the Yankees in a trade, came back to Baltimore, was a coach here for many, many years. As you mentioned, Steve, he was here when you were here. Just truly someone that a lot of players gravitated to.
He was a man that was in charge of the Latino players and explaining to them how the Orioles wanted everybody acquired by the organization to play. And by way of explanation, if you were brought up through the Oriole system in those days, you understood the Oriole way.
That's right. They called it the Oriole way.
They called it the Oriole way.
That phrase.
And you understood how to play the game of baseball when you got to the major leagues. Now the players are a little younger. They're not exposed to as much baseball, so it's different. But if you were acquired by another organization, you were a Latino player very early in your tenure as the Orioles, Elrod Hendricks would talk to you.
Easy ground ball for Anderson. And we are done. We're going to go to the break. White Sox sailing along here in Oriole Town.
Brought to you by T-Mobile, and Yoan Moncada is having quite a night. Starts it off by slicing a double into left field. Then wins the race to first base, and Ortiz might have gotten hurt on that. He left the ball game, but Yoan went on to go 3 for 3. A double, 2 singles, a run batted in and a run scored, and he has indeed been built for baseball this evening.
Yes, Moncada. By the way, his career high is 4 hits set in September of a season ago at Detroit. And as Steve mentioned, he's 3 for 3 with a run scored and an RBI.
You take a look up in the lights, Chuck, and you can see the mist.
Yes, you can.
Lots of it here tonight. I am expecting the Hound of the Baskervilles to be loping across the moors coming up here pretty soon.
Hart, the third Oriole pitcher. Ortiz, as Steve mentioned, left with an injury, undisclosed at this point. We have not received word.
Looked like a leg injury, and there you see the kind of night it is in Baltimore. But we're just happy to be playing baseball, considering what a whole lot of folks in this country, especially on the East Coast right now, are doing.
Yeah, you know, last night I caught the Orioles athletics game here, and the Ravens were out of town. They played the Bengals on a Thursday night affair. Tough night at the office for the Ravens. Yeah, I'm a little partial here because when I think of Baltimore, I still think of Johnny Unitas, Lenny Moore, Art Donovan, and the Colts.
Yeah, they had Ordell Bracey.
That's a long time ago.
Ordell
Bracey. Oh my goodness, Steve. You're dating both of ourselves
well,
here.
He actually he lived in my complex.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
Here's a run down the right field line. In play. Jones makes the catch. And there's still a few select upcoming games to take advantage of bleachers and brews. This is a read for Bill Wennington. Get one bleacher seat and 2 beers for just $22. Must be 21 and over with a valid ID. Bleachers and Brews is presented by Budweiser. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/brews.
There you go.
Sanchez at the plate now. Steve, when you pitched here, did you have a lot of camaraderie with the Colts at that time? I mean, did you hang out with any of them, just socially or speaking engagements or whatnot?
Yeah, I did. Saw a number of them at the various functions throughout the wintertime, certainly. But
did you live here year-round?
Yes, and it was. I mean, when they left town here, that was horrible.
Yeah.
For
the
Baltimore.
moving vans in the middle of the night with Robert Ursay.
As you would expect. Yeah, it was very bad.
And then, of course, Art Modell moved the ball club from Cleveland to Baltimore, which drew the ire of diehard Browns fans. And Cleveland, and of course, came up with an expansion team, and they're still waiting to turn the corner with the Browns, and they're waiting and waiting in your hometown.
Hey, they got a tie this week, this last
That's
week.
true.
So all is not lost.
Really?
They are undefeated. That
Break up the Browns.
That's quite a squad.
Oh, my goodness. So Yolmer grounded to third in the first, walked in the second, hit into a double play in the fourth inning of play. Yolmer Sanchez, just a solid all-around utility ball player, getting a lot of starts. One of the good people for the White Sox, always keeping things light. I really enjoy watching him play. He loves the game of baseball, and I love being around people who have passion for their job.
He's had a very nice year at third base. It's not his natural position. He's a shortstop, second baseman by trade, but forced to play third base and making the most of it.
White Sox with 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 2 in the fifth. They have 8 hits and 7 runs. Orioles with 2, 4, and 1 with a line. You know, during the break, as Sanchez will take a walk to first, Chuck Garfon back in the studio. We were talking about your broadcast career. And, you know, it was interesting because you were in the booth on a nationally televised with ABC with Howard Cosell.
Cosell and Al Michaels both.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my
Right
second
then,
game.
Steve Stone. Look at Stone on the mound.
Yeah, well, no, he didn't say that. But it was close. It was interesting. It was really nice. I mean, Michaels and Keith Jackson were the play-by-play guys. And the analysts were Cosell, myself, Bob Uecker, and Don Drysdale.
Now, did you have a rotation at all, or was this something that you did every Monday night? Was that it on national TV?
There was 6 men for 2 3-man teams, and they varied them depending.
Okay.
So it was fun.
Because I remember that when they put Keith Jackson, as you mentioned, was in the booth, And they used a number of play-by-play people along with analysts. They had a couple of teams, and Steve Stone was one of them, with Jose Abreu at the plate. Abreu with a fly out to center, a line out to short, and grounded to short. Jose still trying to get through some struggling times of late.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to miss as much time as he missed and come back and expect to pick it up. But the sad part about it is he was so hot when he went to have the abdominal surgery that you realize that, I mean, you're looking at 22 and 78 on the power numbers, and he was making a legitimate run at getting to 25 or 30 and 100 runs driven in again, as hot as he was. And then, of course, the surgery interrupted all of that, and he most likely, I mean, he still could, but most likely will not get to those numbers this year.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he missed 19 games. Here's a chopper, short with the flip, and the first safe. Abreu down the line beats out the throw. And that'll do it. As they apparently called interference, and Ricky Renteria is going to go check it out.
Yeah, he wants to find out what Yolmer did at second base to call Jose out at first. We'll take another look. Throw gets there.
You tell me.
Maybe because he came up with the lead arm after he went through the slide.
Okay.
It could very well be that they felt that was a disruption, and consequently that's why they called Abreu out at first.
Ricky Renteria getting an explanation, apparently. And now
Buck Showalter, yeah, asking the same thing of Dan Bellino.
Well, I mean, the White Sox are still milling around in the infield.
And Yolmer is still there. That's Tom Hallion, the crew chief, talking it over.
Yeah, Tom Hallion's been around the block a long time. World Series, All-Star games.
No, I think he wants to talk to Ricky again. No, they're going to call it New York. They're going to check and see what they have.
I didn't see it.
Let's watch the tail end of this. Yolmer slides. That looks pretty good. I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
Unless the only thing I can think of, with the left hand, he grabbed the foot of Valera. The thing that has the oven mitt on it.
Well, they're on the headset in New York to kind of see where we're at this point in time. Again, the White Sox have a number of players just wanting to learn what we hope to learn through the replay center in New York. Very puzzling here.
The only thing I'm wondering if they saw Yolmer with his left hand grab the ankle of it. I think it was Valera. There's Yolmer. See his left hand. Doesn't appear to do much. Just touched the shoe. He didn't grab him.
No. Steve, I don't know what he did.
Well, apparently they're having a hard time in New York figuring it out also.
Yep.
Because this is taking a lot more time than it should have taken, and Yolmer he's out there, Jose is out there.
And it's still a mist of rain here in Baltimore. Nothing heavy, as both teams are just hanging out to find out what the final decision will be. In the meantime, Shields has pitched 2-run, 4-hit ball through 5.
Well, this is one of the things when they go and they talk about how we're going to tweak replay. Yes. This is one of the things they're going to have to do away with. You're going to have to get to the point where in so much time you got to come up with an answer one way or the other.
I agree.
And if you don't come up with it, then you just play on.
You know, that's the only thing I can think of, Stephen. You're right on spot. Whether or not they felt that Sanchez interfered with Valera on the toss. That's the only thing I can think of. And let's see. He's out. Okay. Oh, no, safe. He's safe. So
call Yomer out, but they give him the safe sign. It's not an automatic out at second base. He did not interfere, as it turned out, with Valera. And so the inning does continue. And now Buck, I'll say, well, how can you say it doesn't? And now you say the inning continues. And they're saying they determined in New York there was no violation of the slide rule.
Yeah, you know, of all situations that we can add to this story about the length, Buck Showalter was talking about the length of a game in his pregame press conference with the media, and he said, "Why, as a manager, do I have to flash a sign to my third base coach, who in turn has to flash that same sign to a hitter? Why can't I just flash a sign to the hitter?" And he goes, "You know, maybe we can speed up the game that way." He said, now in a case in Oakland where the distance, and Steve, you've done ball games in Oakland.
Many.
And it's huge. I mean, there's a lot of foul territory there. Well, Daniel Palka will step in with Abreu on at first. 2 outs here. Palka with an RBI single in the first, grounded to first in the third, and singled in the 5th inning. For Palka, this is his 110th game of the season.
And these at-bats, although they don't seem to be consequential at-bats, they're very important for Daniel Palka because he wants to show Ricky Renteria and Todd Steverson that he can hit left-hand pitching. If he can do that, he can expand his playing time.
Called strike. Palka with some nasty power, folks, that we have seen time and time again in a Sox uniform since April, late April. And this time, we will take a break. After a strikeout, we'll return to Baltimore in a moment. Sox in front, 7-2. MLB.TV for $25.99. Watch every out-of-market regular season game. Plus, you get a free subscription to MLB at Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. You can visit MLB.TV to take advantage of this limited time offer, and some great races still going on in both leagues. Chuck Swirsky along with Steve Stone. We are in Baltimore. The rain's starting to pick up a little bit here with Cedric Mullins at the plate. Singled in the first, struck out in the third. James Shields sailing right along. 4-hit ball, couple of runs. Mancini has gone yard twice.
Only thrown 76 pitches,
yeah,
which is a low total as we head into the 6th inning.
Well, they're giving Mullins a long look-see here with the Orioles to find out whether he can play day in, day out.
Well, they know in the final year of his contract that if indeed Adam Jones does come back, it won't be as a center fielder.
Mullins out of the state of Georgia, attended Campbell University. He was the first Oriole to collect 3 hits in his major league debut. That came against the Red Sox just a few weeks ago. As we mentioned, one of 14 players on this Baltimore roster to make their major league debut this year. I was watching the Mets-Marlins game yesterday, Steve. That's right, I was watching the Mets-Marlins game.
You were the one.
And Ron Darling, who does a terrific job as an analyst on the Mets television, was talking about rookies and what they accomplished in their first year. Remember Johnny Ray, the second baseman for Pittsburgh?
I do.
In his rookie season, he started all 162 games as a rookie. He played over 1,400 innings as a rookie. And actually, he had a pretty good career, and then Jose Lean came in, and that was the end of Johnny Ray.
He did
Johnny
have a nice
Ray did a fine job. Shields trying to win on the road for the first time since opening night. And Mullins will take a walk. All right, let's play Sticks and Stones. One of my favorite features right here on White Sox television, because we get the chance to talk about who else? Steve Stone. Which team did Steve defeat the most in his 1980 Cy Young season? Yankees, Brewers, or the Jays? Well, Steven?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Oh, come on.
Okay, I'll say the Brewers only because they were the Brewers, and they were in my division.
Okay, I think I'm going to go with the Jays.
Okay, then I'll go with the Yankees.
VR hit into a double play in the first, struck out in the third. VR came over from Milwaukee in the Scope trade. Scope has struggled as a member of the Brewers.
He has that, and that's kind of surprising, because Jonathan Scope looked like a very good young player.
Yep.
Still has a chance to be a very good young player. Yet they moved him because I don't believe they thought they wanted to expend whatever it was going to take to sign him.
He goes the opposite way, running hard down the left field line, and it's foul. Delmonico did his best to go it over, just ran out of room.
Aaron Bummer loosening in the pen.
Yeah, that 1980 magical season for Steve Stone. How about 25-7 with a 323 earned run average, 37 starts. He pitched over 250 innings that year.
Who can remember back that far?
I do. World Series just, evaded you, Steve. They went to the World Series in '79. You came over here as a free agent. What made you come to Baltimore?
Well, the fact is that they had a good team, and the one thing that I had not been able to accomplish was get and potentially win a World Series, and I felt the best opportunity to do that was Baltimore. It was one of the things that was left that I really wanted to accomplish. I did manage with the Orioles to get to that World Series. Unfortunately, we're up 3-1 and lost it to Pittsburgh. It was an enchanted year for the Pirates.
0-2 pitch. So, just between us, was it money or was it, hey, they're a pretty good team?
No, I thought, number one, they offered me a 4-year deal, which was the only long-term contract that I ever signed. But it was also the fact that they were a really good team. And this was the opportunity to win. And I think when players move along, if they don't win, and we didn't make near the money that guys make in this day and age, but if you haven't won, that should be the goal, is to try to go someplace where you can win if you have that opportunity.
They are with a high pop-up on the edge. And Anderson calls off Sanchez. All right, so 1980 Cy Young, most wins that season, and it came against the Jays.
Blue Jays. There you go.
Yes.
4 of them, huh?
So Steve, I did some homework.
Yeah.
Of course. And Adam Jones at the plate now with 1 out. So that year, you won the Cy Young. Mike Norris finished second, I believe, to you.
He went 22-9, 2.51 ERA.
And the Goose was third.
Yes.
And Steve Carlton won it in the National. He won 24 games. He won 25. The last White Sox to win the Cy Young was Jack McDowell in '93. But that year, you not only won the Cy Young, did you know you finished in the top 10 the MVP race?
I think George Brett was the MVP that year, hitting .390.
How about that?
I mean, you can win a lot of MVPs hitting .390. That was a wonderful year for George. A Hall of Famer, deservedly so.
1 out here. Not only did Steve win the Cy Young in 1980, the preceding year, Mike Flanagan won the Cy Young in '79 when they won the American League pennant and lost to the Pirates.
That rotation had 5 Cys. Jim Palmer with 3 of them. Mike Flanagan, and then I won it 1980.
1-0 pitch. Well, let's go to the highlights of Steve Stone. I love the hair, Steve. You're rocking it.
Yeah, that was from.
This is the All-Star game,
Yeah, that's
right?
from the All-Star game.
Big smile. What did you do in the All-Star game?
Well, see, I was 9 up, 9 down, but it showed you there was a clip me striking out Dave Kingman, but that wasn't the last out of the 3rd inning. It was Bob Welch.
Bob Welch?
Yeah.
Adam Jones with a swing of the best. Bob Welch, he won the Cy Young 1 year.
Yeah, he went 27 in 1990.
Yeah. He was an outstanding collegiate pitcher at Eastern Michigan University. And had some great success with Oakland. So who did you face? And do you remember the 9 guys, or just a handful of them that you faced in the All-Star game?
It's so long ago.
Oh,
Chuck.
come on, just give me a
How could
few.
you possibly remember
Go.
Bill Russell and Steve Garvey and Dave Kingman, Davey Lopes, Johnny Bench, Ken Reitz? How can you remember those guys?
The ball hit to center field. Easy play for Cordell.
Dave Parker.
The Cobra.
Reggie Smith.
Reggie Smith was a terrific play.
Bob Welch. That's about it.
Reggie Smith, the former Red Sox, Cardinal, Dodger.
Good player.
Yes, he was. Very good play. This is going to bring on Trey Mancini, a couple of home runs. There's a connection here with Notre Dame, as we talked about, because one of Mancini's teammates, Pat Connaughton, is in the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks. Connaughton played for Portland, and Connaughton was drafted by Baltimore, but elected to play in the NBA. We talked about Ron Reed being a 2-sport star out of Notre Dame. Same thing with Connaughton, who's a pitcher, and Connaughton can deal it. I mean, Steve, he can throw, but he elected to go to the NBA. He played college basketball under Mike Bray in South Bend with Jaron Grant, a former Bull, who's now with Orlando. And Connaughton is quite the athlete. But right now he's in the NBA for the Bucks, signed as a free agent. but Mancini has done some damage. The only damage against Shields.
James has been really good tonight.
Yes, he has been.
Let's take a look at the high-speed action powered by Xfinity, and it's the 2 home runs of Trey Mancini. There's number 1 on a fastball. Made it into about the first row, and then a rolling breaking ball. That one a little bit further, equally as effective. Only blemishes on the slate of James Shields.
Narvaez and Garcia have gone yard for the White Sox here in Baltimore. Now, Steve, after you give up a couple of home runs, take us through the mentality of a pitcher now working with Narvaez about making sure this doesn't happen again.
Well, James at this point knows, look, he gave up solo home runs. He's no stranger to a solo home run. As long as you don't walk anybody in front of it, it's not a bad thing. In fact, more times than not, you don't mind a guy hitting a home run, assuming it doesn't lead to a big inning against you. And James is up 5 runs. He doesn't care very much for those 2 home runs that he gave up. He just wants to make sure there isn't a third.
But do you say to yourself, all right, he hit a couple of home runs off a certain pitch and I'm not going to deliver it? Or does he?
No, well, look, he hit a home run off a fastball. He hit a home run off a curve. So, you know, he's got the cutter. He's got a straight change, but you can't just go cutter straight change the entire at bat.
Pitching very carefully to Mancini on a 3-1 count with 2 outs here. Speaking of home runs and not allowing home runs with guys on base or whatever, you realize we talked earlier about the fabulous career of Jim Palmer. He never gave up a grand slam home run.
Nope.
Never.
I know. I used to hear it every day. I'm well aware of that. Pretty amazing as many innings as he worked and as many situations as he was in, but they never touched him for the home run with the bases loaded.
Checker the runner at first with Abreu holding him on. 3-2, 2 outs, and the pitch. Caught looking, and Mancini disagrees with that call, but we're going to go to a break. White Sox in control, 7-2. Back with more in a moment. Jason's on assignment, so Ricky, always a pleasure. Sure. Thanks so much Likewise. For your time. Want to talk basketball for a moment. Did you play basketball as a kid, or do you follow the sport?
I played a little bit. When I first took to the court, I wasn't very good. It took me a few games, and then I started to understand how to control the basketball and a lot of the practices that we went through, but I did play a little bit.
Okay, do you follow the game today?
Sporadically. I know that we have had multiple champions in Chicago. Obviously, that goes without saying. But you know, just here and there, I try to kind of disconnect a little bit once the baseball season's over.
Totally understand. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
All right, that's it.
See, the problem, Chuck,
Yes.
is that the segment is called One Thing with Ricky. You asked him two things.
Yes, I did.
If the segment was called Two Things with Ricky,
Okay.
you'd have had it perfectly.
That's why I'm out of the booth tomorrow. And Jason returns to his rightful spot here at the Perch in Baltimore with the Orioles. We have a new pitcher, by the way.
We do indeed.
Ryan Meisinger from
It is.
Owings Mills, Maryland, about 19 miles from here.
Exactly like Meisinger, and now I know why.
11th round pick in 2015. His aunt would take him out of school for opening day. Huge Orioles fan, of course, just, you know, a few miles away. Played in Maryland's Brooks Robinson High School All-Star game at Camden Yards.
On for the 13th time, and the ERA a little bit higher than he would like. But he's not going to hit that slider,
Nope.
and he gets it. Let's take a look at StatCast AI, powered by AWS, and it's a home run by Omar Narvaez, and it was really hit well. 99.7 miles an hour on the exit velocity, 30 degrees on the launch angle, and Omar hit his 7th.
So where do you think the White Sox are going with the catching situation as we look at 2019, Steve?
Well, there's no doubt they got a couple guys in their minor leagues that they really like. However, both Kevin Smith and Omar have had a really nice year in the absence of Wellington Castillo. Castillo has come back. He's got a chance to play a bit, and I believe the contract for him goes through next year. But they got a couple guys in the minor leagues they really like, and Collins being one, Zavala being the other. And the Sox, as an organization, believe that catching is in pretty good hands. Both Collins and Zavala can hit the ball. They both catch it very well. They're both good young players, and we should see them on the horizon, at least starting next year, with the thought process, and then we'll see how it works out. But I think for an organization that was catching poor not too long ago, those couple of guys I mentioned from their minor leagues give the Sox some hope that there is some talent down there that is pretty close to ready to go.
And Narvaez has really grown on me during the course of the season.
He's had a wonderful year. I mean, a better year offensively than any of us could have dreamed.
What's he done so well offensively that you've seen?
He started to hit the baseball with authority. I don't think that he was quite sure that he was going to hit the baseball as well as he did, because he hit everything last year to left and left center field. And this year he started to pull the ball and really hit the ball with authority, as that home run would illustrate earlier in the ballgame.
So Narvaez goes down swinging. It's going to bring on Tim Anderson. Anderson 0 for 3 with a run scored. Talked to Tim in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and he promised me he's going to attend some Bulls games. Big basketball fan. You know, it's great to see the camaraderie athletes have with one another, Steve. That, you know, a lot of the players will go to Hawks games or Bulls games if they reside in Chicago during the off season, vice versa. Players, you know, from the Bulls have come out to support the White Sox.
Well, look, it is
Bears as well.
It's a very big city, but it's very small as far as the athletic community, and everyone feels a kinship with anybody else who's playing a professional sport, regardless of what the professional sport is, as long as you're wearing Chicago across your chest.
Sox will play tomorrow and Sunday here in Baltimore. Then it's on to Cleveland to take on an Indians ball club running away with this division, 82-64. They're playing 500 ball over the last 10 games. But they've got a healthy lead, to say the least. In fact, Cleveland is the only team in the Central with a winning record.
Well, Cleveland is the only team, as they head into the playoffs, that's thinking about their postseason rotation right now. Because the drama long since out of this pennant chase for them. They're going to win the division. And they realize that with the free agent that they have, Chuck, and there's 3 big ones. There's Michael Brantley, there's Cody Allen, and there's Andrew Miller. And there are 3 big free agents for the Indians to lose if, in fact, they lose them all.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about the AL Central in a moment. Right here from Baltimore with the White Sox in front 7-2. Sox fans, StubHub is your ticket to once-in-a-lifetime experiences, from Chicago White Sox games to amazing concerts and shows you do not want to miss. StubHub, your ticket out. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of your very own Chicago White Sox.
We have a new pitcher coming to ball game. It is Aaron Bummer. So a fine job by James Shields. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs. Aaron Bummer on for the 32nd time. 0-1 ERA of 3.38, thrown it pretty well with 26 strikeouts in 24 innings. And he's got the middle of the order due up for the Orioles, who have been held down pretty well. Just the 2 solo home runs by Mancini, as James fan 5 walked only 1, gave up the 4 hits we talked about, and is in position to win for the first time since opening day while away from Guaranteed Rate Field. As Buck Showalter looks over his lineup card.
Well, Buck Showalter in his 9th year, but you think of Oriole baseball as a manager. Earl Weaver. I got a story about Earl Weaver.
You do?
So, as you know, I lived here during the summers of Baltimore with Vince Bagley, who was an institution in television sports. So in 1968, I'm just a kid, and Vince Bagley says, we gotta leave. And I said, what happened? He goes, Hank Bauer has just been fired as manager of the Orioles. This happened during the All-Star break. And so I went to the press conference to announce Earl Weaver as manager. He was the first base coach of the Orioles in '68. They made a run at Detroit late in the season when the Tigers had that phenomenal year in '68. But how was it for a player like yourself, Steve, to be a pitcher under Earl Weaver?
I think all the guys felt the same way on the ball club.
How was that?
Earl treated everybody the same. Miserably. So we all were united in the fact that Earl didn't treat us particularly well, but that was okay, because what we figured out, and the Orioles knew this ahead of time, was that Earl had only one interest and didn't care about anything else except for Oriole wins. And so that's eventually what all of us figured out, and so that was it. Earl won a lot, and everybody was very happy to be here.
I mean, what was the mound visit like?
The substantive talks on the mound were always held by Ray Miller, the pitching coach. When Earl came out, for the most part, he came out to take you out of the game, except on occasion, he would actually come out and ask you if you can get him.
As Chris Davis goes down swinging for the second top of the ball game. Good job, Bob Bummer, coming in for Shields.
I had Earl come out one time to ask me. Actually, not point before he got there, and it was against Milwaukee, and it was with Cecil Cooper coming to bat, man at first base.
Oh boy.
And it was 2-1 with 2 outs in the 9th inning. And Cooper had hit 5 home runs off me in 2 years. And Earl, because I had retired 20 straight, heading into Don Money, who I walked, Earl asked me if I thought I could get Cooper. And we had Tippy Martinez, a left-hander, loosening in the bullpen. And I looked at Earl, I looked at Cecil, who was coming up to bat. I looked back at Earl and I said, nope, bring in Tippy. Because I knew I couldn't get him. If I could get him, he wouldn't hit 5 home runs off me in 2 years. So Earl gave me the option. I told him bring in Tippy. We won the game, which was the object of the exercise.
Well, you hear so many pitchers who were throwing under the umbrella of the Earl Weaver managerial run, and he had a great run. I mean, a fantastic Hall of Fame run. But they always had a little bit of an edge with him. There's a little bounding ball. Oh, and Bummer runs past the ball.
Well, for some reason, Aaron thought that someone else was going to get it, despite the fact that as he goes to first base, he's got to realize nobody's near the ball. So Aaron gave up on the ball. It is a base hit. Jose was not going to be near the ball, and we'll watch it again. So Aaron comes over. He's looking at the baseball, and for some reason, he decided to go to the bag, and nobody was there to field it.
That's going to bring on Valera, the second baseman for Baltimore. Valera is 0 for 2. 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th after James Shields did a tremendous job going the first 6. A couple of runs on a solo blast. A couple of them Bob Mancini allowed only 4 hits. Struck out 5 and walked 1.
And what a night it was for the man you're looking at, James Shields, who was absolutely brilliant tonight.
Well, hopefully the White Sox can seal the deal and get him his first road victory since opening day against the Royals. See, we talked about this before the break with Valera. And an 0-2 pitch coming up from Bummer. And that goes to right for a base hit. And the Orioles with runners at first and second with 1 out. And Narvaez wants to have a meeting on the mound with Bummer. We talked about Cleveland. You know, they really have become an afterthought as far as the playoffs. I mean, we talked earlier about New York and Boston and, of course, the defending World Series champion Houston Astros, but no one's giving Cleveland much of a chance.
Well, Cleveland has to go, and they've got to take on Houston in the first round. It would appear, at least, that that's the way it's going to be. Quite obviously, Boston's going to have the best record in the league. Nobody's going to come close to them, so they're going to have the #1 seed, if you will. And then let's just assume, for sake of argument, it's going to be Oakland and New York. They're going to play against one another before they take on Boston. And that leaves Cleveland and Houston to play head-to-head in that first round of playoffs.
So DJ Stewart, who's 0 for 2, Orioles trying to do some damage against Bummer here with runners at first and second. Well, yeah, when you examine the work of Cleveland with Francona, and over the years, but since he really came out of retirement after leaving Boston, took a year or so off, he has done a fabulous job. I think he said at the Hall of Fame, I really do as a manager one day.
There's no doubt he's going to the Hall of Fame. Ooh. That one almost got the bill of the cap. Buzzes one up and in. Stewart able to get out of the way.
Again inside, and it's 3-1. Tobias taking a long look at the dugout. So let's see what Bummer can do here. Wins is on the on-deck circle. He just couldn't find the plate. That's going to load him up.
Here comes Ricky Renteria. So normally when he goes out there in a situation like this, it usually means a new pitcher. And that's what it's going to mean this time. And so Ian Hamilton will come in. We'll step out. Be back after these messages. Ball to the pen with the bases loaded and no margin for error. Ian Hamilton comes into this one on for the 6th time. He's been throwing it pretty well. Just one walk in 5 innings, 1.80 ERA. And he'd love to throw a ground ball.
Yeah, and Corbin Joseph appears to be coming in as a pinch hitter. Corbin Joseph, the younger brother of Caleb Joseph. Caleb Joseph has been primarily one of the primary catchers for Baltimore this year. They just recalled his younger brother Corbin Joseph the other day. He's played in only 8 games for the Orioles. Actually made his major league debut in 2013. Had a very brief stint with the Yankees for a couple of ball games, but he is 1 for 12 with 1 RBI and 1 career double. So let's see what happens here. Hamilton on the mound for the White Sox. We have 1 out, and the bases are loaded for Baltimore here in the bottom of the 7th inning in a 7-2 ball game. Takes a cold strike. So Bummer with the 3rd inning gave up a couple of hits, a walk and a strikeout. Hamilton out of Washington State University.
Not a whole lot of speed on the base paths for the Orioles. But no place to put anyone.
Nope. 0-2 pitch. Check swing. You got Stewart at first, Valera at second, Nunez at third. So, Steve, what in the brief time you've seen Hamilton, what do you like about his game?
Well, you have to like the fastball. I mean, he gets it up there at times, 98 miles an hour, pretty lively. He's got a great arm. You'd like to see him get the secondary pitches over. If he could get a slider over right here, he would take down Joseph.
It's a big at bat for Corbin Joseph. 2-2. Good battle going on here.
98 mile an hour fastball. Joseph able to stay alive.
Now we've got a 3-2 count.
Tried a backdoor slider. That one didn't do a great deal and pretty much hung just off the outside corner.
See if he comes back with that four-seam fastball right here on a 3-2 pitch with one out. Bases loaded for the Orioles here in the bottom of the seventh. Hey, let's see if you're right. He's got some life on that fastball. That was a slider at 89 miles an hour. And that is a base hit up the middle. One run is in, 2 runs are in, and Joseph delivers with a run-scoring 2-run single.
He went to the fastball and the inability to get a slider over the plate. Came back to haunt him a bit as Joseph goes right back up the middle. Not hard hit, but going to score a pair and get this thing a whole lot closer. Both of those charged to Bummer.
So a meeting on the mound now with Don Cooper, the White Sox pitching coach. Baltimore chipping away at the White Sox lead. Here in the bottom of the seventh, 7-4 White Sox.
Dan Bellino now comes out. Don Cooper has had his say.
So the Orioles, with runners at first and third, with one out, and Cedric Mullins at the plate. He's 1 for 2. Outfield playing straight away. You have Sanchez in at third. Abreu holding on Joseph at first. There's a ground ball, and Moncada mishandled it, and everyone is safe, and the Orioles score.
When you're thinking about 2 before you get 1, a lot of times that's what happens, and unfortunately, instead of an inning-ending double play, it's going to go as error number 19 by Yoan Moncada. This one going to prove a little costly. E4, you can't assume the double play, so it goes as a run batted in for Mullins, just his 7th.
Steve, that had double play written all over
Yes,
it.
it did.
So now we have a 7-5 ball game. Jonathan Villar hit into a double play in the first, struck out in the third, popped to short in the 6th. First and second for the Orioles. Baltimore with 2 here in the frame. It's 7-5. Up and in.
Don Cooper calling the pen. Wants somebody up and ready to go.
2-0 pitch coming up right here. Crowd of 18,265 here in Baltimore.
Chase Fry starting to get loose.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. 7-8-1 for the White Sox. 5-7-1 for Baltimore. Hamilton, the 3rd White Sox pitcher. Shields went the first 6. And another 3-2 count.
Adam Jones in the on-deck circle. Both Villar and Jones, 2 of the guys on the team, hitting in the 280s coming into play tonight. Neither has a hit this evening.
Yeah, the last thing I want to see is Adam Jones with the bags loaded. So Villar along with Hamilton having a nice little battle going on here, and now the infielders are going to approach Hamilton. What do you think they're talking about now, Steve?
Well, maybe the suggestion to throw a strike. Thing is, there's no further you can go than 3-2, and Villar is one of their better hitters. So just a word that
he's got speed too.
Omar would like. Yeah, I mean, he's just a good, solid offensive player.
Three balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Baltimore putting together a rally here in the 7th inning of play. Runners at first and second.
This is quite a battle.
Yes, it is. Got him with 8 pitches in this matchup.
number 9 on the way.
And he walked him.
Good battle won by VR. Don Cooper. Posey's got a couple of pretty good hitters. Jones and Mancini with a couple of solo home runs tonight.
So Adam Jones 0 for 3. He struck out. Bases are full of birds with 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Jones is grounded into 19 double plays this year to lead the club in that dubious department.
He's flied out to right in the 1st, struck out in the 4th, fly out to center in the 6th. And again, another conference on the hill.
Could very well be time to change the signals. You've had the same man out at second base for a while. We're with the bases loaded for Adam Jones. A couple of grand slams, one coming this year. 278 batting average. That's pretty good.
Jones steps in against Hamilton. 1 out. Bases loaded. Big cut.
Well, the advantage if you have one with Jones is that he's not going to walk. And because of that, you're going to get him swinging at a whole lot of pitches that might be out of the zone. 22 walks this year, 524 at bats.
0-1 pitch. VR at first, Mullins at second, Joseph at third. 7-5 White Sox. Trying to hang in here in the bottom of the 7th inning. It's 2-1.
Very interested spectator in James Shields.
Sends a fly ball right field. Garcia at the track, leaps, and he makes the catch. Runners will advance on a sac fly to right. Baltimore adds to the tally as the Orioles have scored 4 times here in the 7th inning and cut the lead for the White Sox to win at 7-6.
Third sacrifice fly of the year. This one pretty close. A very short porch in right field. Not a whole lot of room out there as Avi goes back, makes the catch, and gets it back in.
So we have 2 outs now. For guess who? Trey Mancini, who's homered twice. Orioles with runners at second and third. 7-6 White Sox. Hold strike, 0-2.
Mancini thought this was inside. Fortunately, Dan Bellino didn't.
0-2, 2 outs. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And the rally is over for Baltimore, but the Orioles get 4 in the bottom of the 7th for the White Sox. Lead at 7-6.
This high school football show is back for another season. Catch High School Lights, presented by Wintrust, tonight at 11 on NBC Sports Chicago, or stream the show on the NBC Sports app. We get a new battery in the ball game. It is Tanner Scott. Left-hander comes on for the 47th time. He's 2-2. His ERA above 5.5. But 66 strikeouts in 46 innings. That's awfully good. Left-handers have not hit him, but right-handers have. And Caleb Joseph takes over, and how often do you see his brother comes up with a pinch hit? He comes in and catches. Happens all the time.
And Ryan Lamar is stepping in now for the White Sox. Lamar appeared in a couple of ball games against the Royals in the recent series. 66 games overall. 2 homers, 15 RBIs, batting .277. So Tanner Scott is from Notre Dame, but not Notre Dame in South Bend. Notre Dame College in your neck of the woods, Stephen, from South Euclid.
It's right down the road from where I was raised.
Now, you went to Brush High, is that right?
I did, yes.
Pitched briefly for Baltimore last year. Hard throwing lefty. It's an easy play. Quick work. I'll tell you, Meisinger did an outstanding job.
In 1 inning and 3 strikeouts. You can hardly do it much better. All swinging. He got Garcia, Narvaez, and Anderson in the 7th inning.
Brian Cordell struck out a couple of times, grounded to third in the 2nd. So the Orioles make it a game of this, scoring 4 times in the 7th. 6-7-1 for Baltimore, but the White Sox 7-8-1. They did some damage early, scoring 5 times in the first 3 innings.
Cordell looking for his first major league hit. Couldn't think of a better time to get it than when especially a left-hander is behind you 2-0. You're most likely going to get a fastball. And if he can throw it in the zone, he's going to be bearing down to do just that.
Inside. Well, one would think that because Scott has been all over the plate that you're going to take here.
Still going to get another fastball here.
Yep, that 4-seam fastball clocked at 98, 98, 97. 3-1 pitch. Swung on. Deep fly ball. Left field. This baby is out of here. How about that? Welcome to the show. Home run. His first.
First major league hit, second run driven in. He got his 3-1 fastball. He got it down the middle, and 97, 98 doesn't really matter if a major league hitter's looking fastball. Gets it in the zone, most likely going to hit it hard, and that a no-doubter. Might as well make your first memorable, and that one was certainly that.
That's awesome. That's great news. I love it.
Was a blast.
Yep. Gives the White Sox now an 8-6 lead.
And you got to get him the home run chain.
Yes, you do.
There it is. He's got it in his hand.
When did that start, Steve?
A couple of weeks ago, I think.
There you go.
Wearing it proudly.
And then they give it back to you right after the game.
As many,
walk out of here,
as
right?
many as I threw, I should have had one of those.
Moncada has a very productive night at the plate. Got a piece of Joseph.
Let's take a look at our Ford home run replay. 3-1 fastball and gone. And Ryan knew it was long gone when it left the bat. He put his head down and started to trot. A Ford home run replay and a memorable first major league hit.
Yeah, you got to get the souvenir, right? The ball
Absolutely. Are you kidding?
with a Mets jersey. Well, that'll be great. We'll put that, we'll save it for the rest of his life.
No doubt about that.
3-1 count with one out. Top of the eighth, 8-6 White Sox. Moncada will draw a walk, putting Sanchez at the plate for the White Sox with a man on now with one out.
It's about the happiest man in the ballpark right there. He's going to be wearing that chain until somebody takes it off him.
I think I'd like to be a right-handed pull hitter in this ballpark.
Or a left-handed hitter that could hit the ball out in left field.
Well, that's true.
It's pretty easy to flip them out that way too. This is just a great park to hit, always has been. Completely different than old Memorial Stadium, which was a very good park to pitch in. For whatever reason, you don't get the same feeling here humidity-wise. The ball just stayed in that ballpark. Had a hard time hitting it out in the alleys. Not in this park.
Yep.
This park, the ball flies.
It really does. Yolmer Sanchez steps in now for the White Sox. Sanchez 0 for 2, couple of walks.
He's going to throw to first here, I believe.
Davis holding on. Moncada with 11 stolen bases. He's been caught stealing 6 times. You see that improving over the years?
Oh, he's got speed enough to steal 30 or 40 bags a year. And I think as soon as he gets some sort of technique down, he's going to be able to do that. Right now, like so many other aspects of Yohan's game, he's in the learning phase of trying to figure out how to do it in the major leagues. And speed by itself is just not enough. We've seen some very fast runners with the inability to steal bases. Because it is a technique. You have to figure out what the key is for each and every pitcher, both right and left-handers.
1-1 pitch.
So when you're a base stealer and you're looking at a right-hand pitcher, odds are his move is going to be quickness. Odds are a left-hand pitcher, his move is going to be deception. And if you can figure out what the keys are for the right-hander as he tries to quicken his delivery or hold the baseball or do whatever he does to try to combat your base stealing abilities, when you figure out those keys, that's when you become a prolific base stealer.
Grounded to short, the flip for 1, 4-2. But a great moment for Ryan Cordell. Terrific. Young man hits his first major league home run for his first major league hit. Awesome. Back with more from Baltimore on NBC Sports Chicago.
We've got a new pitcher coming in the ball game. It is Jace Fry. Sox have a 2-run lead late. Bottom of the 8th inning. Jace comes on for the 54th time. He's 2-2. His ERA just a shade below 4 1/4. We've got a new left fielder, Ryan Lamar, who came on to pinch hit, stays in the game to play left field. So a 2-run lead to protect, 6 outs to get. And try to take down the Orioles and make it 2 wins in a row.
Against Chris Davis, who's registered a couple of strikeouts in the 4th and 7th respectively. Takes a cold strike. He doubled in the 2nd. Jace Fry, we talked earlier about the outstanding program at Oregon State University. He played for the Beavers. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2014, the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year. Also underwent Tommy John surgery in college. But he said it increased his velocity after the slider.
Well, you don't need a setup pitch here. One more slider to Chris Davis, and it's into the at-bat. Let's see if he can get it low and away and get it.
And a 0-2 pitch. A roller to right on the shift. Got it. So Chris Davis heads to the dugout. You know, Steve, Chris Davis, you know, he's got $43 million left deferred.
I know that, and the Orioles really know that. As this year hitting at 175 coming in.
Yep.
Batting average going to stay in that same area, 1 for 4. Tough year for Chris Davis. The Orioles' Chris Davis.
Yeah.
Oakland's Chris Davis is having a great year.
What has he got? 40, 41 home runs?
Something like that, yeah. I think 41. Wamanaya loosening in the pen in case Jace Fry has any problems.
Bernardo Nunez 1 for 3, a single that a run scored. 0-2 the count.
Here is Juan, who's been throwing it pretty well lately.
And that was a foul tip right into the mitt of Narvaez, and good job turned in by Fry. Shields started, Bummer and Hamilton, and Fry is the fourth White Sox pitcher.
So look, there's been some bright spots in an otherwise dull year, and one of the real bright spots is Jace Fry. He burst on the scene and showed that he can be a very important left-hander coming out of the bullpen. In fact, his stuff, if he refines this just a little bit more,
we'll talk about that. We say refine.
He can close. In other words, right now the slider is good, the curveball is good, and his fastball is very good.
What's his out pitch?
Either one, fastball or curve, and his slider has been the out pitch to left-hander. So, I mean, he's got 3 out pitches, which is usually 1 or 2 more than most guys have out of that bullpen. And when I say refine, I mean the ability to throw it over the plate when he wants to, the ability to throw it 3 inches outside when he wants to. That's the refinement of a slider. Being able to pinpoint your location, even if it's out of the strike zone.
And you think he has closer stuff?
I do. I think he has closer stuff. Now, that doesn't mean that he can close, because there's a lot of guys with closer stuff that can't close. But I think his disposition is one. I don't think he's going to be rattled late in the ball game. But again, he's in the infancy stages of what could be a very valuable career for our Sox.
Now the Orioles with an opportunity with the tying run at the plate.
Oakland's Chris Davis hit his 42nd home run tonight. Wow. In the top of the 10th. And the A's went on to defeat the Rays 2-1 in 10.
DJ Stewart walked in the 7th. Fouled out in the 2nd. Grounded to first in the 5th. Yeah, there are so many great candidates right now for the American League MVP. You think Mookie Betts going to win it, or you like Martinez, or?
Good question. I mean, they might split the vote, being teammates and all. I think that Mookie Betts, for me, wins it over Martinez because he plays defense and plays really good defense. JD is a pure, wonderful hitter, but just that, a hitter. And Mookie Betts can steal bases, can go get him in the outfield. I mean, he's a complete player. So for me, he gets a nod.
All the infielders coming on the mound now to have a meeting with Fry. 2-0 count with 2 outs. Time run aboard. Don't miss any White Sox action in 2019. Full and partial ticket packages are on sale now, offering you the best seat savings and benefits. For more information, call 312-674-1000 or visit whitesox.com. And that pitch eludes Narvaez, and now the Orioles with a man on second. That's going to be a wild pitch, and it's 3-0. What's happened to Fry here?
He's thrown 3 balls. He's going to be fine.
We turned him loose. 3-1. You know, I'll tell you what's even a tougher selection is over in the National League. You know, for MVP.
Yeah, the MVP is going to be, well, certainly Javier Baez is going to get his share of votes.
That's a lazy fly ball, shallow left field. Lamar under it, and he makes the catch. And so, folks, the White Sox escape damage here in the 8th.
We head into the top of the 9th inning from Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Sox leading by a pair. They've out hit the Orioles by a pair. The Airs even at 1. And we got a new pitcher coming in the ball game. Is Miguel Castro. Castro on for the 60th time, so he's been a busy guy. 2-7, his ERA of 4.15. Too many walks, too few strikeouts for 80 innings. 49 walks, so control has been an issue.
This is the 6th Baltimore pitcher. They started with Ortiz, who left after an inning and 2/3 with an injury. Then they went with Yacobonis, Hart, Meisinger, Scott, and now Castro in his 2nd season in a Baltimore uniform. And the first pitch to Abreu is a cold strike.
It's a very tall, thin guy with a really good arm.
Broke into the big leagues at a tender age of 20 years young in 2015 with the Blue Jays. He received a $43,000 signing bonus, and he took that money and paid for surgeries for both his mother and father.
That was very nice.
Yes, very nice. And that ball ripped foul to the left.
That was a hanging slider, and Jose, when he saw that, his eyes lit up. He was hoping that it caught a little more of the plate. He got it before it got there and got out ahead too quickly and yanked it foul.
Jose 0 for 4.
Castro at 6'7", 205 pounds. That's a tall kid.
What did they list him, his weight, Steve?
205, 23 years old, out of La Romana, Dominican Republic.
One ball, 2 strikes. And Jose goes down swinging. Tough night at the office for Jose, 0 for 5. But again, he's coming back, and as you mentioned,
yeah,
it's very difficult.
It's really hard to keep your rhythm and keep your stroke when you go on the DL for any length of time. Plus, he had surgery to compound things, and unfortunately, not going to get to the 100 runs driven in this year, unless he really turns it on.
Daniel Polka is 2 for 4. I'd love to see him get one here and rip it. So you get a signing bonus. When you came out of Kent State, what did the Giants give you? Did they give you a lot of money, or did you just say, hey, because you were drafted right by Cleveland out of high school?
I was drafted by Cleveland, 16th round, did not sign. And then in those days, Chuck, they had both a June draft and a winter draft.
Yeah.
January or February. And I was drafted 4th round by the Giants, which sounds a lot better than it was because they only had 4 rounds. And they wound up giving me $10,000.
But back then, that was pretty good coin. Maybe.
It was better than no $1,000.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, that was just a joy. I mean, signing the contract was a joy. It really didn't matter what it said. Just signing one is what you try to do when you're toiling away all those days. And
the golden flashes of Kent State. 3 balls and a strike and 1 out.
Before that, you know, those are the goals. You don't know if you're going to reach them, but those are the goals.
Castro with a pitch. Outside, Polka takes a stroll to first. See, I remember when the big signing bonus baby was Rick Reichart, and he signed with the Angels. He got like 200,000.
Yep.
So Garcia. Zavi done tonight. Didn't do a fielder's choice in the first, walked in the 3rd, hit a 2-run shot in the 5th, struck out in the 7th. Polka on the first with 1 out here in the top of the 9th in Baltimore. White Sox nursing an 8-6 lead.
Here are the BP home run leaders and their home runs on the road. Matt Davidson, 15 of them. Daniel Polka, 12. Avi, 12. Jose, 11. And Tim, 10. All on the road this year. the BP Road home run leaders for our Sox.
Yeah, Davidson missed the Royals series with sore knees. Fly ball to center field. Easy play from Mullins. So Garcia flies out. Palka returns to first. Orioles, by the way, if you're taking a look to the bottom of the ninth, Caleb Joseph is not batted. He will lead off Mullins along with VR. Reynaldo Lopez will pitch in the Saturday night ball game for the White Sox. Lucas Giolito on Sunday.
5 of the runs tonight, the result of long balls. 2-run homer by Narvaez. That coming in the 3rd. 2-run homer by Avi. That coming in the 5th. Solo home run in the first career hit by Ryan Cordell. That coming in the 8th.
8-9-1 for the White Sox. 6-7-1 for Baltimore. And that is going to be caught by Mullins. So we go to the bottom of the ninth here. Hang around, folks. White Sox trying to nail down their 2nd straight win. Back with more in a moment.
It's time for the Miller Lite hold true moment, and it comes off the bat of Ryan Cordell. It's a 3-1 fastball that's gone. Hit a mile, his first major league hit, and couldn't come at a better time. Giving the Sox a 2-run lead, the home run chain, and there it is. And Cordell shifts over to play right field. Nate Jones comes into the ball game to try to nail it down. 4 for 7 in save opportunities, his first save opportunity since coming off the DL. On for the 29th time, he's 2-2, the ERA at 2.45. And hopefully the stuff is there, because when it is, he's really tough to deal with. As Adam Engel checks in the game to play center field. So it's an outfield of Lamar in left, Engel in center, and Cordell shifts from center to right. Avi out of the ball game.
We got a pinch hitter for Joseph, and that's Jace Peterson. Peterson with 3 homers, 28 RBIs, batting .205. This is the bottom of the ninth here in Baltimore, with the White Sox leading 8-6. Peterson with 13 doubles, couple of triples. He's throwing some gas.
Oh, he's got a big fastball, always has, and when he's right, he's got an unhittable slider to go with that big fastball. And here is that slider.
And you called 3rd strike.
Peterson can't believe it. That was actually a lot closer than I think Peterson thought it was. Buck Showalter can't believe it. It's been that kind of a year for him. Nothing really has gone right, and he wants to let Dan Bellino know about it. So Dan Bellino thought it was high enough. Peterson thought it was low and out of the zone. Buck, as you would expect, agreed with Peterson.
One out now in the bottom of the ninth for Mullins, 1 for 3 with an RBI. He walked. He also struck out. As Steve mentioned, Jones recently activated after coming off the DL. Jones, the 5th White Sox pitcher. One and two. White Sox had the day off yesterday. Came through in the finale of the Royals series, winning in extras 4-2. Went to the bullpen. The bullpen very effective against Kansas City in that series finale. Jones trying to nail it down here in Baltimore. 2-2. You got Engels shifted a little bit to left center field. There's a huge gap in right center, Steve, in the alley.
Well, they don't believe that he's going to be able to get around that quickly on Nate, especially if he throws that fastball away. That's an inside fastball. Let's see if he can get around on it.
2-2 pitch. And that ball is drilled to right center field. And that ball is headed all the way to the wall. And Mullins can run, but he stays at second with a stand-up double.
You got that fastball middle in and cranked it. 8th double of the year, 2nd hit of the night to go with a run batted in. So Mullins has been on base 3 times.
That's going to bring the tying run at the plate in Jonathan Villar, who's 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout.
It's a good slider for strike 1 to Villar, who can put a charge into it.
Nice job by Umpires. So, Steve, at this point, do you go with the slider? Do you go with a fastball? If you're Jones.
I'm thinking fastball away and use the slider for the wipeout. Let's see what Omar wants.
1-1 pitch. Orioles with a man at second. 8-6 ball game. White Sox here in the bottom of the ninth with 1 out. Adam Jones in the on-deck circle for the Orioles.
That was where he wanted that fastball, and Villar was able to foul it off, but couldn't do much with it. Now, if you're looking for the wipeout pitch, this is when you go to that slider down and in. But you want to make sure you keep it down and out of the strike zone.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Awesome call there, Stephen.
Well, that's typical rotation for a guy with a big fastball. You want to keep that fastball away so the hitter can't pull it, and then wipe him out with the slider down in the dirt. Nice stop by Omar, and within an out away from a victory here in Baltimore.
And that'll bring on Adam Jones. Jones is 0 for 3 with an RBI and a strikeout. Mullins remains at second base. Caught the quarter. You're right, Steve. I'll tell you, having seen this now from where we're located in the press box here in Baltimore, looking at Jones, he's got some nasty stuff.
And when he's getting the slider in the neighborhood, there are not too many guys can handle it.
One and one with 2 outs. This has got to be tough in a sense for Adam Jones as well. He's been doing a lot of sitting the last couple 3 weeks with the Orioles, taking a look at a lot of young players who's been in and out of the lineup.
He's been such a mainstay here over the years. You're right, Chuck. It's got to be difficult for him. This was his team.
Fouled off to the right. So now a ball and 2 strikes, 2 outs. Mullins at second base for the Orioles. Lee Jones trying to put the clamps down. The White Sox victory. White Sox in front 8-6. What do you call here?
Slider away ends the at bat. Let's see if Omar wants it there.
Here's the pitch. 2-2.
Wanted a fastball and missed with it outside.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs.
Jones able to stay alive on that slider. Yomer makes a friend.
You come back with the slider here?
Yeah. The reason I say slider here, Chuck, because if you miss with it, there's a good chance, because Adam Jones doesn't walk, that he's going to go and try to hit it anyway.
Jones looks in. 2-2 pitch, 2 outs. Up high.
There's a slider. He got under that, and fortunately that one was not in the zone. He's very unhappy with himself because he realized he had the wipeout pitch. He just could not execute the pitch. Ray Mancini in the on-deck circle.
Yep. Yeah. 3-2, 2 outs. Here's the pitch. Ground ball to short. Anderson collects, throws. Ball game over. Sox win. Sox win here in Baltimore in the opener of a 3-game series. Wow. A little drama here.
There was indeed. Aaron Bummer had a tough night out of the pen. And at the end, Fry and Jones did a very good job of wrapping it up. Sox get that insurance run off the bat of Ryan Cordell. That was a big home run because it gave the boys in the pen a little breathing room with a 2-run lead late. And they came out and got the job done in the first of a 3-game series here in Baltimore.
Yeah, sigh of relief for Ricky Renteria. Oh, my goodness. But again, you know what? You got to be happy for the ball club, but especially a guy like Ryan Cordell.
Well, that was just a wonderful moment in this ball game. A guy who's been up here for a little bit now, still looking for his first major league hit. Finally worked the count to